So it's going to be a bit of a different show today because I have two guests and Joe is working. So let me say this. First of all, Evan, sometimes I feel like I call you by your last name by accident. Sometimes I call you by your first name.
Everyone does.
I'm just going to call you ET from now on.
I like it.
Okay. And if the debate gets too intense, don't hesitate to phone home. We'll let it go. And then we also have Dante here. Say what's up, Dante.
What's going on, y'all?
So this is our Black History Month episode. and I want to say this, that Chris was supposed to be here, and he had a work thing come up at 11. He was like, can we reschedule at 1? But I already had you guys both locked in. I was like, man, I already got those guys locked in. And he was like, fuck, he said the optics going to look real bad.
Bro, I would have loved 2 white guys with shaved heads to be on the Black History.
But he was like, the optics going to look real bad when the Alabama boy calls out. But yeah, so there's a lot that I want to get into.
What's up, Chris? By the way,
yeah, Chris is a good dude. But I want to get into. I want to have a really in-depth conversation regarding the Joe Rogan thing at a certain point. The goings-ons, which I'm sure you're aware of.
I'm very aware. We had a meeting.
Oh, there's no doubt. The group chat has been lit. With that being said, though, let's first get to, what do you think of Kanye West Black Future Month?
I'm sorry, what?
So Kanye West wants to do away with Black History Month and instead focus on Black Future Month. And his point of view is that all Black History Month, not all, right? Not always, never, or never. The majority of Black History Month, from his perspective, tends to be this turning over of ideas that are a net negative for Black people to constantly have in their frontal lobe. And instead, let's focus on great Black people now that are working towards things for the future that, which I'm sure he would be at the head of if you were to ask him. He'd be number one on the list.
You already know.
But that aside, to focus on their efforts in the future of what Black history will be, as opposed to dwelling on the past. This is his point of view.
I got a couple thoughts on it.
Okay, let's hear it.
My first being,
hold on.
Fuck Kanye and the clicky clan. Kanye, I think, talks too much, especially recently. He's talked a little too much.
He's talking a lot about Kim these days.
Yeah,
he's off Black History Month now. He's on Kim.
Yeah, he wasn't so black for the past few years, but
more now. Julia Fox.
Yeah, that's exactly.
He's got an MO.
He does. He has a type.
He likes thick white girls, and I can't say I blame him.
I ain't mad at him. I ain't mad.
I mean, he's all right.
Yeah. But no, I understand his idea and I appreciate it. I can understand how good that idea is. However, the concept behind Black history, as I understand it, is history is fluid and never changing. So when I tell people we are Black history, that means it's ongoing. I am making Black history now. As it pertains to my family, I am Black history. History in the making, So, and for us to have, what do you call progress and whatnot, we have to know where we came from. So if I'm going to affect the future, I have to look back at the past. First of all, to learn from it and not repeat the same mistakes, but also that's my motivation. I want to make my family, my ancestors and whatnot proud. So Black history is past, present, and future, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you feel like, because I'll say this, that sounds reasonable to me, sounds like a rational thought, but
I worked on my profession.
you're like gonna get sharpen this sword.
I was gonna say, don't ask me, because you can't have me follow that up. I was like, fuck, I don't got enough.
You wore your scarf. I thought you had some professor vibes coming
that
in.
Scarf is hot. No,
Grandma got it for Christmas. I was like, you know what,
man,
I rock this shit everywhere.
I was gonna be suspect, but man, Dante, that's a nice scarf. But I walked out, I didn't want to make it awkward.
Dr. Dante today.
I'm gonna let Grandma know then, because like when she gave it to me, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I can appreciate a good scarf.
I put it on. I love it.
Do you feel like, in terms of looking back at history, that it often stops at 1555?
No.
I feel like it does. From the outside looking in, when I see Black history being talked about, whether it be school, whether it be with people, whatever, what have you, Instagram posts, it seems to start at 1555.
I think we sometimes stagnate in relation to what we consider history, because we feel like history has to mean a time before cameras, a time when things were black and white, right? Because I know when you think about, let's say, the 1900s, the memory is black and white people walking around. Like, I don't mean just color wise. I mean, the world was just black, like an old movie.
Right.
But I feel like we need to continue to understand that Black history is in Technicolor. And I think, like you said, we do sometimes stagnate on the 1555 and the worst aspects of slavery and all that stuff. While it's important to recognize it and acknowledge it, we have to also recognize and acknowledge the progress that was made. Yes, we can talk about Ruby Bridges, but let's also talk about let's say Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. What's he done? Let's talk about Kanye West. Let's talk about Jay-Z. Let's talk about the people who are currently making history. And what, we can even tie it to the past.
Should we free Larry Hoover?
How long has he been in?
A long fucking time. But at the same time, I'm of two minds. Like on one hand, like he really couldn't do anything now. Like he's too old.
That's kind of my thought process on certain things.
And even if we don't let him out, he probably doesn't belong in the same fucking prison that the people that plan 9/11 are in.
It's wild, isn't it?
But he is also responsible for like probably the biggest organized gang since the mafia.
He started the NYPD.
I got news for you. The GD members outweigh the NYPD members.
So I understand what he did. And
he did great things for that community as well, right? Dante and I were just talking about this before you arrived. That rarely are any people, when you get outside of the Stalins and Maos and Hitlers, rarely are any people just even keel evil. Do you know what I mean? Most of it is a shade of gray. My dad used to always talk about the pendulum, and I've talked about it as well, but he used to talk about it mainly in regard to the mopping service. But that like the two balls on the pendulum and then on the outside, they make the most noise and they make the most vibrance and they kick up and they make sure that you recognize them. But most of the energy is being stored between the middle ones that you don't give a whole bunch of interest in. And I feel that way about people too often, right? But like, I think that while he did do a lot of great things for the city of Chicago in terms of the communities there, I mean, he's also ultimately responsible for more murders during that era when he was free than one would want to mention, as well as drug trafficking eventually and other things. But like, it's shades of gray.
Who are you asking the question to? Is it somebody whose family was a victim of
or benefited?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or is it us three who've never met him, don't have any attachment to him? Like, it sounds like he's fine. Stuff like that. And the quote that I like is, "You're never as good as they say you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are." As you said, shades of gray. So his situation could be somewhere in the middle, where it's like, yeah, he was an asshole back then. He caused some chaos.
Right.
How much of a threat to society is he now?
Right.
Has he paid his debt to society? Because that's one of those subjective things as well.
Of course.
Your debt to society. That's all made up by, let's say, a judge, a jury, whoever.
Right.
On some arbitrary means.
I feel like you weren't free to express yourself with that left hand.
Yeah, I speak with my hands a lot. So that's like me saying, if Bobby steals a bag of ground coffee, what is the time that is worth out of your life to pay back your debt to society? What is that 8-ounce bag of worth? Is it worth 6 months of your life behind bars? Is it worth 2 years?
Yeah.
So that is very subjective when it comes to if somebody's paid their debt to society.
Yeah, no, I agree. So. I agree with that too. All right. Pretty heavy start, but that's okay. So
that's what she said.
Are you heavy on the front end?
Oh yeah, my stamina kind of wavers. That's why I'm working out now. I told my wife
a real heavy finish, like splat.
I'll be honest. I'm not a heavy finish guy. I wish I was. I told you. I heard that celery. If you eat a whole bunch of celery, that it. But all I did was give me diarrhea. But I keep a bag of it.
Hey, if I get a second win, I'm good at like the middle part of the game. I get that second win, I'm ready.
I just dump it all at the end.
Just all.
So it's funny.
There's no second.
You backload it.
So it's like I still like sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know what's normal, right? I'm 41 years old. Do you know how many orgasms, I can't say sex because not all of them was sex, but how many orgasms I have shared with my wife in the past 12 hours?
Shared as in? I have
had as a result of interactions with her in some level or degree.
I don't know how I would know that, but
4.
Really?
4.
In the past 12 hours?
In the past 12 hours. 4.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I still, you know what?
Yeah, right.
I still. Oh. I still got it. Now I'm not saying that it's all quality.
No,
for her.
Hey,
But
we ain't all batting 1,000.
yeah, I know, like
Sometimes it's about you.
Yeah,
you know what,
right.
dude? I like this. This is my truth.
This is my truth.
So, E.T., I let the person who gets coffee first go second on Nerd Weeks, but you were so fucking late.
Yes,
That you're gonna go. You're gonna go. You're gonna pay back your debt to society with your lateness by going second on Nerd Weeks.
CP time in full effect, baby.
Fucked up because I showed up 10 minutes early.
Yeah,
Well, we had to even it out.
Yeah. I showed up early because I was like, I don't want to hear shit.
The white man was exactly punctual on time at.
I was about to say, you're the Ben Carson to my Malcolm X right now.
Whoa. Let's bring that down a little bit.
Dante, has it been since the last time you've been here? It's been a while. Right? What was it? My birthday.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it.
I couldn't.
Your schedule's trash.
You
now.
need to switch mopping.
Oh, you need to switch mopping schedule. You don't belong there.
They need me.
Maybe.
Look, I'm not the leader they need. I'm the leader they deserve.
Come home. Come home.
That was very Kanye of you.
Come home. We got a few we trade.
One of mine right now.
All right.
No, everything's been
Hunky dory or busy?
Yeah. No.
I'm just going to adjust that a little bit.
All right. Yeah, everything's been busy. You know, we talked about it a little bit before.
Podding. Heavy podding.
Just
You're the pod machine. You're the pod father.
I do it because honestly, I need hobbies. Like I have hobbies, but it's like if I don't have something to do, I feel like I'm wasting. So podcasts, off the mats, Compton, So You Like Horror. That's all I've been. And watching tons of horror movies
For the So You Can Like Horror show.
Yeah, but that and no Marvel Legends right now.
No?
It's kind of quiet right now.
The X-Men wave goes up today. The 8th. The 8th. It goes up today with one with Siren in it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm getting the Siren. And the Wolverine suit that I actually do enjoy is a blue and yellow one.
Yeah.
But it's like more 50-50 than like majority yellow. It's like blue is like cut down the sides and it's just yellow in the center.
Really?
Yeah, he wore it when he was in Avengers, I think. But I'm quite fond of it. So I might get that.
I have to look at. I'm going to get the wave regardless, but I have to take a look at it again because I think when I saw it initially, I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm getting the wave either, but because the Build-A-Figure ain't shit either, I don't think. But
so
I'll have to look at it.
Whatever. But yeah, it's pretty much been it. Just horror movies upon horror movies, and guest rescheduling for off the mats. Got
Isn't that a bitch? Logistics.
Yeah, pain in the ass,
dude. I like if your castmates could show up when they're supposed to, and then your guests could show up on time. Just regular shit. You know what I mean? The words of Cardi B.
Perfect.
Nothing's perfect. Not doing Black History Month. We'll get to Joe Rogan later.
Yeah, we are.
So I had I watched the Bill Cosby documentary.
I love to hear it.
Did you fall asleep during it?
No, this was good.
Oh wait.
Oh fuck, it's so good.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, it was well done. We know obviously everything that's going on with Bill Cosby, and when there's a documentary, you're expecting it to be just that's all they're going to talk about. That's all they're going to talk about.
Right.
But
I asked you the moment you told me, I was like, is it just a smear? Because I mean, I get that he deserves once again to pay his penance, but once again, the dude even though he has done some monstrous things, he's not all bad. He's done some great things as well.
I mean, just because of him that Hollywood got black
100%. 100%.
I forgot about I Spy.
I remember that.
Dude, growing up with the family that I had, the Huxtables to me was success. Like that's what a family was supposed to be like. They loved each other. They were fun and caring with one another. They taught lessons to one another. Both parents were in the home. Like just shit that I love it.
Both parents were in the Evans home as well on good times. So
this is true.
Yeah,
like
both parents were in Evans home.
Yeah,
that was more related.
Unfortunately, this is not true.
Is it not? I thought you
halfway.
Oh, okay, okay.
My father traveled, but he was still around.
Oh, Rolling Stone.
Yeah, right? I got some brothers and sisters out there.
Franchises?
Yeah, exactly. Franchises. I love it. I'm going to start using that. My father was a franchise player.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, like my household was so different than that. My mother hated my father. My father hated my mother. I had a whole bunch of stepbrothers. They didn't want to talk to this one and that one. I had half brothers and half sisters, but my father didn't really fuck with them. And you know what I mean? Like it was all like, it was shitty, you know? Yeah. And then like when I turned on the Cosby Show, I mean, that motherfucker was dancing at the very beginning of it. I was like, it's going to be a good time.
Love that.
You know?
No pun intended, right? It's going to be a good time. I see what you did there.
Yeah, these bars.
And that's the thing, growing up, I did not like it.
Really?
Because it wasn't familiar.
It didn't represent you?
Right.
Okay.
Like, again, watching Good Times, all that strife, all that chaos, but the good that came out of that, though, too, making them stronger, that's familiar to me.
Keeping your head above water, temporary layoffs. I got you.
How do you feel about
the child line?
How do you feel about Penny having a whole tit on TV at the Super Bowl in 2004?
I mean, I got over it. Like I thought about, I was like, damn, she got burned by the iron. And she came a long way, Mama, though. Mama, no. But no, the whole Bill Cosby, it's called We Need to Talk About Bill Cosby. And you know, again, they go over a lot of the good that he did, and the way that they kind of present it too, they really, you know, built this up like they're talking very highly of him, and then they'll pepper in, you know, but then keep in mind, you know, around this time, you know, the first allegation seemingly came up, like in the 60s. And then, you know, they go through some more of like the good. It's almost kind of like there's this incline, and then you get to a certain point and things got weird. Like when Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, like stand-up comedy went a little bit more raunchier.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of like Bill wasn't falling out of the spotlight. It was more that, okay,
but he definitely, I mean, you know, Murphy did a whole bit on Bill Cosby hating on him.
Yep.
You know, like, said you want to come to the show. I said, what show? But you can't go because he's saying some stuff. I said, well, what stuff? He said some things. Well, what things did you say? You said the Phil Flair and Phil. Bill, I never said Phil Flair and Phil. Then fuck you. I'm offended you called. But like, you call Richard Pryor and he's like, this motherfucker don't want me to do the show, don't want me to curse. He's like, Eddie, are you getting paid? Are you having fun? Tell that motherfucker shut the fuck up, have a Coke and a smile, and tell him suck my dick. Can you imagine getting back on the phone with Bill Cosby? Like, hey, Bill Cosby, I need you to go ahead and suck Richard Pryor's dick.
But you know, even off of that though, that's kind of where the Cosby Show kind of like, because he retaliated. He came out, did a stand up, and off that stand up, kind of towards the end of it, he's talking about family and building like the story, right? Which eventually became the premise for the Cosby Show. You know, and then now we're on a high note, the highest of notes.
Camille.
But then they start pointing out weird stuff with the Cosby Show. Like, I mean, like when they're asking, like, do you remember what kind of doctor he was? I thought everyone would remember that he was a vagina doctor.
See, I don't even.
Damn,
really?
That's right.
Yeah,
it was OBGYN. I gotta always say it slow because I fuck up letters.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, and his office was where? In the basement, in his home. I was like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, damn. But, you know, it's because when you look back then, watch it, it doesn't seem weird because you're just like, oh, you know, this wholesome show, this wholesome family. But then when you start looking back at it in retrospect, you know, they're pointing those things out.
Right.
And then, you know, they're just going through that. And then after the show ended, you know, it was not really a decline. It was kind of like an even kill. He had a couple other shows. And then from that point, you know, after his son was murdered, it's like the wheels came off.
Right.
Like he's attacking Black America, saying, you know, it's your fault that you're not, you know, getting out of a bad spot.
He was Kanye before Kanye.
Yeah, I mean, and there's other. I mean, you know, Jordan has fallen into that bit. You know, like that whole.
Yeah, it didn't. You know, they was Mitt Romney like referenced him at, you know, one of the Republican debates. He was like, I'm glad Bill Cosby, you know, said what needed to be said. And it's like, like, you motherfuckers. Weaponizing us against each other, you bitch. But, you know, and, you know, it kind of steers back now into, okay, now when you start looking at him chastising people, it was like, you have no room to fucking talk. And, you know, they brought up how Hannibal Buress wasn't trying to take him out. It's just Hannibal Buress was being a comedian.
Right.
Just talking shit. And then from there, you know, that's where it all came to light.
Huh. I'm not even sure if I realized that.
Yeah. So speaking of Joe Rogan, he went on Joe Rogan and kind of talked about that. And it was one of those, like, again, it wasn't intended. Right. You know, he was like getting
just a domino effect.
And he was like, why y'all booing me? Bill Cosby out there raping women. And he was like, no, really, go look up Bill Cosby rape. It gets more hits than Hannibal Buress. Like, wow. Go check it out. And there it went.
Well, I'll tell you, like, so here's something like, so I know, like, I hate to hear it. You know, I hate to hear it. Because I love fucking Bill Cosby, you know, and I grew up loving Huxtables, and I watched Ghost Dad in the fucking theater, I think.
Damn, you were the one.
You know, I hate to hear it, but like, I know that shit is wrong, right? Like, I denounce it before all women of the universe and on Twitter. I denounce it. But I also really enjoyed the dance he did when he got out of prison.
Yeah, that was.
And like, does that make me bad person? Like, you know, that's how I feel. Like, I'm like, fuck. Like, I could watch that shit. It puts a smile on my face, even though I know it's awful. You know, but it's like when he was, he's
So one of the things that kind of happened in the documentary too, just real time, it just worked out as they're rapping. They get a text. Oh shit! Breaking news: Bill Cosby's been let out on a technicality.
Yeah.
So they went like, sit back down. We got to talk more. And a lot of the victims who did come forward and speak on it, they were upset. They're crying.
Of course.
You know, I turned to Sarah and, you know, I paused. I was like, hold on. Okay. I understand. You know, this dude should be punished for his crimes. He's a fucking monster.
He should be beaten. He should be flogged. He does not deserve to live with normal men.
But one of the things that I was thinking about with this, though, is it about him, you know, being locked up and punished, or is it about this information coming to light and now we are aware of this? Right. Because even when the Cosby Show was going on, you know, a few of these victims, you know, as they're talking about it, they're like, look, you know, they're talk to like their spouses or friends, like, he's not as squeaky clean as you think. You see the show and he looks great, but let me tell you, there's some shit to this.
I'm just like, I don't know why. Like, 'cause I have 3 daughters, right? Like, if I found out that one of them had been drugged and you know, and had their way with, I would certainly feel a way about seeing him dance on camera for being let out on jail. But it wasn't my daughters, and I know that sounds awful, but like, I don't know what it is but like, it's fucking hysterical to me. Not the act.
I get what you're saying.
It's just like the history of it all and who he is, and like, it's something like, I can't justify it in my mind as to why I find it so funny. Like, I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
But I really, really do.
So, I mean, the thing is, though, too, like, shit that's funny is in a vacuum. It's isolated. Yeah. If it's funny, it's funny.
Yep.
See, I agree, but I feel like that's harder. It's harder these days.
It's hard. Like, these days, if, you know, they see you laughing at that, it's like, oh, why are you laughing? It's like, because that shit is funny. Right. Did you see what he just fucking did?
And this shit is also equally wrong.
But he's a fucking monster.
Also funny.
Two things can be true at the same
time. Correct.
And kind of the last note on it.
I'm gonna watch that shit though.
Yeah. What is it on?
For sure. Showtime.
Showtime. Gotcha.
Like, I just canceled it, so like my subscription was about to end. I was like, no, I got to get to this. And of course, then they got previews for others. I'm like, fuck, I got to resubscribe because I want to watch that shit too. Yeah. But one thing that
Showtime and HBO, man, that's the shit.
You know, I said to Sarah as we're sitting there watching it, because it debuted on January 30th on that Sunday. And I was like, I feel like the timing is kind of piss poor. And she was like, well, I was like, come on.
Right.
Bill Cosby, I'm pretty sure you're aware he's black.
Right.
In February, like a couple days away coming up. Yep. And I was like, you can't do it in March.
Oh, that's till March.
Like,
that's Women's History.
Yeah.
Damn.
I was like, you got to skip March so we can go with April. Like no one has April, right?
God. I'm sure someone has April. It's a nice month. He wouldn't take claim.
It's going to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, you can't do it then. I mean, and not for nothing. Who the fuck negotiated like for Black History Month to be in February? Like,
I'm sure Evan has a theory.
Like, because I was thinking about that. I was like, I'm gonna ask Evan because he may know this. I was gonna Google it, and I was like, no, because I don't think they would put the details into the negotiation room as to how this worked out.
Ends up being like the guy with the whitest name. It was Kevin Brian Jonathan Smith III.
It's like, oh well, you can have February. It's only got 28 days. Whoa! Every 4 years it gets 29. You get an extra.
Yeah.
Like,
the word is thank you.
and it has the day of love in it as well.
That is true.
Yeah, of course. Never mind. but yeah, that was kind of the big thing during my time away is podcasting and Bill Cosby.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nice.
E.T. phone home. What do you got?
Nothing that heavy.
Yeah. That's good, though.
Open heavy.
Yeah. We're getting back to heavy here pretty soon. I got a couple jokes to make, but then we're going to get back pretty soon.
It's all good. I ain't been up to much. See, I got a couple figures since the last time I talked to you. I guess I got a couple hot toys. Mm-hmm. Some for Christmas, just some for myself. I got the Miles Morales, the Spider Gwen.
You've been on a spider kick.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking.
Somebody say might be bitten by the spider bug. Right?
I find the different designs of the Spider family more interesting than the Iron Man family, right? So that's why I think I'm going to bolster with because I've already got both Iron Spiders. I got the MCU Spider, so I'm doing a whole Spider-Man thing.
Sometimes I get frustrated with Transformer fans when I talk to them. And they're like, "Well, I don't really do anything outside of Transformers." I'm like, "Okay, well that's boring," but okay. And they're like, "Well, except Iron Man," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" And let me guess, Metalhead's your favorite turtle? Because I'm noticing it. You really into 3PO and R2 too? You fucking doof.
Just say you like robots. If you say you like robots, fine.
And I'm just kidding, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's fine. But that's my thing. Is I just ordered Endgame Thanos and Loki in a Loki.
Endgame Thanos is one of two hot toys I've ever canceled.
Really?
Yep. I canceled Endgame Thanos because I saw the movie and I hated him. And I canceled Hot Toys Baby Yoda because I got the Sideshow one and I was like, do I really need it to move?
Nah, I got you. Yeah. Makes sense. I just like the armor that he has on.
I do too. I prefer the look.
Yep.
I prefer the look 100,000%. The character's just so fucking dull to me.
It's kind of one-dimensional.
Yes, exactly. In comparison to this mastery, Marvel can't create a villain for fucking 10 years. They fucking stumble across this one by completely reinventing him, make him arguably the most interesting villain of this millennium so far, and then they kill him in the first 5 minutes of the next movie and give you another bullshit villain to deal with. It irritates the piss out of me.
And even the one that they killed,
but his look is awesome.
Yeah,
even the one that they killed at the beginning was still very intriguing.
Fuck yes, dude.
I want to know, this dude is at peace.
The more philosophical version, as opposed to the warmonger version.
Yeah, that's just he is the finger steepled in the dark room twisting his mustache. He just wants to do bad things.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna just kill you for the sake of killing.
Yeah.
I wonder though if because they filmed those two movies back to back together, I wonder if at that point they were just when they did Endgame, all right, we're tired, we need to get this shit done, because Endgame was really sloppy.
I think so too, but I also think that it was a matter of I think they had certain things in mind. Everybody coming through the little warp circles, the doctor. I think they were like, "Look, that's going to be a thing." Yep. Captain America picking up the hammer, that's going to be a thing. I think they had certain things they knew that they wanted to do, and they painted the picture around
Build the movie around it.
Yeah, and I also think that after they wrote Infinity War and knew what it was, that they had to figure out how to fix it. And I'm just not sure if they had the smartest people in the room to figure out that problem. Yeah. I don't think they did a terrible job of figuring out that problem, but I think that there's a smarter person out there, not this guy, not me, but someone else.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That could have done it better.
And you figure their whole intention was to bookend this phase.
Correct.
Marvel phase, was it 1, 2? They had to
Three,
bookend this.
The third one.
So they had to tie everything up, whether it's sloppy or not. All right, we're done with it.
Yeah. And I think, hindsight, at this point, it's with the Disney Plus shows and what they're doing now, if they would have left those characters out up until Doctor Strange, because now we're bringing them back in.
And there's still a lot of these shows and stuff are still fixing things from that.
Absolutely.
Because, you know what I mean? It's like, and I think there are people that would argue like, oh, that's probably the plan all along. I'm like, I don't think so. I think that this is like, oh, fuck, at least we can still fix these things. It's like the beauty of Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
Clone Wars came out fucking however many years after the prequel trilogy, and then they were like, you know, we could probably make this whole thing seem a bit more interesting if we just write a 6-season show that explains some of the motivations of these characters that we kind of skipped over. Yeah. You know, and now when I watch Anakin in episode 3, I have a very different feel and view of him because of 6 seasons of Clone Wars.
Well, you can do a lot more character development and explanation in a series as opposed to a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
but continue.
Yeah, so a couple hot toys. I bought a Switch, the OLED one.
Okay.
Because I got my kids a Switch. I can't remember what I got it for them, but sometime last year.
I have one, but I've never used it.
Yeah. Well, I started playing with theirs. So I was like, man, I'm going to have to get my own. So I went and got my own. Of course, I got the updated one and put it in the base. Yeah, you got to spoil yourself first.
Like, treat yourself.
It's a trash.
Yo, I've charged mine like 3 times. I've never turned it on.
Really?
Like, because I'm like, I'm going to play it. I'm going to charge it.
Yep.
And then I'm going to play it. And then I charge it. And by the time I've charged it, I'm on to something else. And then I forget about it.
It's a shame because I have to find the right game. So I'll end up playing games with my phone when my Switch sitting right there. So I have to find the right game to play. But I love it. It's fine. But got that, and what else? Just bought a truck. That was good.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And that was, so when I told you I had a delay, my kids, I just got on Saturday. So my kids was like, we want to ride to school in your truck. So that was the request to take them to school.
Of course.
So I just got the terrible text. I hate to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So I don't, you probably noticed, kind of, you both are not saying anything about it, but like my house is in shambles right now. Part of that is because my dryer took a shit, I think. Either my washer or my dryer. I can't remember. I don't do laundry.
I got you. Good for you.
Yeah. One of them took a shit. So my wife just bought a new set.
Okay.
Because she couldn't handle the idea of them not matching. And
I was going to offer to give you mine because we were going to get a new set.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So anyway, we tore out all the shit in there, like we had Billy's in there and stuff. Like we put new furniture, like we painted it, like we did all this shit in the laundry room.
Okay, is that the room off the kitchen, off the dining room?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Well, off the kitchen dining area, and just redid it all. Everything is out, like all the coats and shit that were in there, all out, thrown on the floor and everything else. And the washer and dryer are supposed to arrive today, and they just canceled. So now we have all this this huge fucking mess. Like,
so they cancel. How do you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I hate when I pay for a service and I've been waiting on the couch since October. So yeah, I know the pain.
That's when I go over to that location. Like, okay, here's what we're doing. You're either gonna give me that couch there that I ordered, or I'm gonna stump a mud hole in your ass and walk it dry.
I'm gonna move some furniture in a different way in a second.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, I bought the truck and I've been needed to pick up for a minute, and it was just a matter of. It's funny because I know selling cars is a job. It's an art. They teach you these.
Oh my tactics.
God. Me personally, whether I'm going to the grocery store, to Target, or to go buy a vehicle or a couch, I know what I want. My cash in hand, hey, this is what I want. Give me a good for my money, right?
Right.
So I always walk into dealerships like, look, I don't want the bullshit. I was like, if I'm going to have to go back and forth between you and your manager, just all three of y'all just sit here now and we'll talk about it. But I'm not going to sit here. I was like, here's what I want. Here's what I'm going to pay. Here's what I'm going to have my monthly pay. Give me your best price now, and we can stop wasting each other's time. This is what I say when I go into the dealership. I don't know what gets lost in translation, where they feel like they still have to go through the bullshit of trying to sell me a vehicle and then go to your manager, come back with this price, go back. Give me what you're going to give me when I'm about to walk out the door. I make it clear.
That's why I fuck with CarMax, man.
They didn't have what I wanted. I called them. I did call.
I do fuck with them, though, because you just walk in, you tell them what you want.
That's all I wanted. And so...
no hassle. Just the price is the price.
The price is the price. And you know, with dealerships, it's negotiable.
Oh, my God.
Right? So I'm like, just give me your best price.
Yep.
Don't give me the bullshit. You know,
I feel like you always leave a dealership feeling like you got fucked somehow.
Yeah, no, I fucked them.
Well, good.
I definitely did the fucking on this one.
Well, good.
But it's like, it shouldn't take me 2.5, 3 hours to fuck you. Yeah, just give it up easy right away.
If you got a good Sade album,
you said you're heavy on the front end.
I'm heavy on the front end, and I don't.
So
like
it might take
time.
3 hours. It might take 3 hours.
But it was so funny because the guy, hey, you want to test drive it? Dude, I've test driven this truck 3 times this week. I know what I'm getting.
Right.
I know what I want. Well, we should just go. I was like, I bet. I got you by yourself. And I told him, I was like, look here, I know your tactic. Keep me in the waiting room, the showroom for 2 hours, wear me down. By the time I'm hungry and tired, I'll sign anything. I get it. I know your job. Trust me when I say this. You're going to get paid. I'm going to buy a truck. I just don't want to wait through 2 hours of bullshit to do it. Right. And I'm telling him while we're driving. I was like, so look, when we get back, if you need me to tell your manager, I will tell him the exact same thing, but give me your best price and everything. So he give me a quote. I was like, I know my vehicle's worth my trade-in. Give me a good trade-in. Nice. I'm looking at the quote. I was like, all right, what did I just tell you? And I hate to talk to people like they're stupid, but don't act stupid and I won't treat you stupid.
Right.
I was like, see this? I don't need the Jones Experience for $1,000 on here. Take that shit off. See this? Take that shit off. I was like, do you have any discounts or sales that you can offer me at this time? Well, we got this. I was like, why didn't you lead with this? When I say give me your best price right away, I was like, this is the shit I'm talking, and I was like, look, I just got off work. Yeah. I'm tired. I was like, I came here to buy a truck. So all this stuff, end up, talking them down on some stuff, bought the truck. Fine. I got to go back out there today to pick up the owner's manual because I'm not paying this money for a car without an owner's manual.
That happened to me at CarMax. They went into another.
You better find one.
They went to another car, emptied it out, and was like, "Here you go." I was like, "Thanks." Yeah, it was the wrong one.
Yeah,
but
they gonna give me the right one. I pay for everything.
I got what was it? This was I got an 04 Saturn back then, and they gave me a 05 manual. I was like,
I don't even have power windows.
Yeah, it's like. All right, okay, fine. Just I gotta go.
And I tell you, the owner's manual is the equivalent. The owner's manual on a car is the equivalent of getting the CD and the booklet inside. Yep, that's it. For me, that's what it is.
I hear you on that.
I like to read through that shit and know what the lyrics are, so to speak.
And they should still be, in my opinion, on all streaming services.
Yeah,
it's a fucking shame.
So not the booklets, but. I know I do Amazon Music.
Right.
I can get the lyrics at least.
See, I want to know the notes.
But yeah,
I want to know who produced it. I want to know who wrote it. I want to know where the sample's from. I want to know because it sucks. Like, can you imagine you go to music school, you go to sound engineering school and then you finally land your first gig and you mix a record and it's really well received just by chance. And no one knows who the fuck you are because they can't fucking find your name.
Kind of like you're on a Kanye West album and he just says, by Kanye West. Yeah. Almost like that, huh? Could be.
On Amazon, they do have notes, but it's like, did you know? Notes. It's not like, you open up the CD booklet, you can get who did this, who did that.
Because there was a time when you bought the music digitally, it came with the digital book.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too. What does that cost? It can't be that much. Fucking put the...
And you get a cassette or a CD and they have all this stuff in there. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah. It's part of the experience.
It is.
I would listen to music and look at the art and look at the pictures and look at, it forms the whole picture.
And I'm a sucker for manuals. I have literally a folder full of every manual for every appliance and purchase in my house, manuals and receipts.
Anything that comes with a manual, it goes in the file.
And my wife's like, hey, how do you reset the coffee maker? Oh, wait, here's the manual.
Oh, let me get the Bluetooth speaker out. And I get the manual for the Bluetooth speaker so we can.
So I love manuals, but that's
I will speak
organized.
When you're going to buy the car and you with all the bullshit that they're doing. I know at my job they want us to do a lot of bullshit too. I don't. If you come in and you say, hey, I want to rent this. First off, I'm going to lead with the internet price because it's the cheapest thing I can get you. Unless you say, "Hey, I'm only going to be sticking around for a month." Oh, hold on, I got a first month free for you.
Yeah,
let me. It is really funny because some people take and car dealership is a little different because you're working on commission. Where I'm working, it's not commission. It's just they're like, well, you got to get this, and that. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna treat you like I want to be treated. If I come in here, I want to get the fuck out of here as quick as possible. And I tell people, look, I'm gonna get you out of here in about 5, maybe 10 minutes. I'm gonna email you the lease. You can walk out the door and sign that shit tonight at dinner. Just leave me the fuck alone.
Don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste yours. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I agree.
I've told people I'm not helping you
because you're
yelling at me. I'm helping you because I want you to go.
Yeah.
I've said that.
I can't handle it, man. I can't handle the bullshit, and I can't handle feeling like I get fucked. I don't think I mean, I applaud your efforts, of course, but I don't think I've ever walked out of a dealership and not second guess myself like, did they fuck me a little bit there? I feel like they might have fucked me a little bit there.
Yeah, the helpful thing is, in the middle of negotiations, I walked out after he gave me a quote. I called my wife, and we talked about it on the phone for 45 minutes. Called, bank just to see about loans and stuff like that. But talked to her, and that's like your North Star right there. She'll tell you straight up, like, hey, this sounds good, or you're getting fucked.
Right.
And I think that helps, because when you walk out, you take the power away from them.
Right.
You're like, shit, and that's what happens. I walked out of one dealership the other day. He ended up calling me yesterday. And I told him, I was like, nah, man, I actually bought something else. I bought the same truck from somewhere else, and I got a better deal. He's like, well, what'd you get? I was like, hey, I knew you weren't finna knock off $3,000 or $4,000 for me, so it is what it is.
Right.
So
yeah.
But other than that,
nothing.
Catching up on media and stuff like that.
Anything of note?
Oh, shit. Probably not. Probably, but I can't remember. I know we're trying to catch the second season of Raising Dion. My wife and I watch Power quite a bit. And, that's our shit. It's our guilty pleasure.
Yeah. So I don't watch Power because I don't have Stars. It's on Stars, right?
Yes.
I accidentally have Stars.
So I don't have Stars, but I listen to a podcast that talks about Power a lot. And I hear like the ebbs and flows of it. Like I know when it's good and I know when it's not great.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I want to watch the BMF thing.
That's good. I watched that.
Yeah,
yes.
I want to watch that because I remember that era for sure.
You should definitely check it out, man.
Yeah.
I will give you my login.
Yeah, I want to watch that. Do they address the Jeezy shit and all that in BMF? Like,
I don't think so,
because he was basically the front man.
They didn't. No. And this is probably before.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, this is like establishing.
Gotcha. So let me. I actually did a fair bit. I watched a fucking fantastic movie. I haven't seen a fantastic movie in a very, very fucking long time.
Is it Fantastic Beasts?
No.
I couldn't figure out how to fit it in there.
It's called The Last Duel. It's on HBO. It's Ridley Scott directed it. Kylo Ren is in it. Matt Damon is in it. And
it's that one that there's a lot of static back in October when he was bitching about comic book movies because that movie didn't do well in theaters, but he didn't promote it.
Oh,
and then House of Gucci had a lot of promo and did great.
Yeah, I never heard of The Last Duel.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay.
And then there's a female in it. I don't remember her name, but she's great in it.
Go figure.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Patriarchy.
Yeah, the patriarchy, of course. But I can't remember. Like, I'm like Thor. The guy. He's like the Australian guy. They're like, I don't know.
Australian?
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, but see, I'm not good at that.
I'm
either.
just good with names.
I just called the one dude Kylo Ren.
That's true, you did.
Because that's his name.
Yeah. But it's fantastic. It's shot beautifully. The story is it's a story that's told 3 times, like kind of in a row, but it's like you get like from A. The first story is like from A to G, and then the second story is like from F to L, and then the third story is like from K to Z.
I like that. So it overlaps.
Yes, but in all 3 stories are the different people's perspective of how it goes down. So when they repeat events, you get to see it from the different perspective. Like, oh, that's why he feels that way because he's seeing it like this.
Gotcha.
Or, but it's great. I highly recommend it.
It says it's on HBO.
Yes, it is on HBO. Let's see. I watched a documentary because Tyler the Collector suggested it. It's on Netflix. It's called The Tinder Swindler.
That's on my list.
So it's pretty good. It's I'll say that this like the first 20 minutes of it feels very bootleggy. Like it almost feels like reality TV in a way. Like it's just shot in a fucking goofy ass way. But once the other players come into it and they start getting out, because the first 20 minutes basically it's one woman's story. So this is my story. So like she's like she's sitting there with a glass of wine just telling the story. It just feels like you're watching reality TV. But then at about a half hour in, other characters kind of start coming into it, and then it gets more complicated and
Tinder Swindler.
Yeah, so basically, without spoiling anything, there's a dude He had a Tinder account, said that he was the heir of a diamond distribution
red flag right there.
company. Yeah. Took her, flying her in private jets.
Shit.
Dripped in designer from head to toe, staying in hotels that are $5,000 a night. Like, the lifestyle matches up. Everything is matching up.
I'd have fell for that shit too.
And then eventually,
I was like, how dumb can you? Oh,
and then
Right.
yeah, and then eventually, he gets stuck in a predicament, and he gets his passport taken, and needs money to help him get. And then before you know it, she's given him hundreds of thousands of dollars, and she's one of many.
Now, that's
I don't want to sound like a dick, but I wish you didn't get called because I wish I would have known about this. I'm trying to give you some money, son. Like, oh my god, this is a good scam.
But what's funny is the ending of it. It's real. It's a documentary, right? So the ending is the ending, but it's not very satisfying from a viewing standard. Like
really?
you kind of wish that he ended up in a worse predicament than he ultimately ends up in. So
let me ask you this about that situation. How much accountability do you put on the people who got scammed?
Oh, you got to.
Okay.
You got to.
Because sometimes it's more like they're the victim, all this. But at what point in me sending you a bunch of money do I start to question, wait, I'm going into debt because this allegedly rich person.
It's the I
mean, I can see a couple thousand maybe off good faith, but after that, it's.
To me, it's the fraud element of it. And I would say, from my limited experience, I know a few people who were born in Israel who are Israeli Americans. I would say that an Israeli man getting tried in Israel for crimes against people that are not Israeli doesn't always yield the same results had they all been Israeli or had none of them been Israeli.
I got you.
Is the only way I know how to put it.
Got you.
And that's from hearing from people. So, it's a very it's us against the world.
Yeah.
So I get it, and it's not unfounded, right? Like, I understand, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me when I hear stuff like this either. Let's see what else. I watched The Peacemaker.
Oh yeah, I did. I've been watching it. Yeah.
It's pretty good. This last episode, I also like. The last two episodes I haven't been crazy about, but they're both still pretty good.
I feel like I missed the last two, but I'm still into it. It's just
the first 3 or 4 were great, and then whatever the last two have been kind of fine. I'm watching Euphoria. I'm catching up on it, so I'm watching the first season, and like I said, it's good. It's a good story with interesting characters and et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it's an accurate portrayal of high school life.
That's what I'm hearing a lot of people say.
And maybe it is. Maybe I just have my head buried that deep in the sand. But I can tell you something. I didn't, as you can attest for, I didn't live a sheltered high school life. That being said, I can guarantee you I was only at every high school party that I attended, whether the doors were packed or whether there was only a few people in there, whether the parents were home or the parents were on vacation, I was one of only 2 people that were dancing in that bitch. and usually I was dancing because I was super into the record, not because of I was high on 10 different drugs and whatever. These high school parties that these kids are going to, they look like rap videos. I mean, there's 100 people in there. They're all freaking crazy. There's no high schooler that I know that's that confident and comfortable with themselves to do that type of shit. These kids are on
probably making TikToks,
all sorts of drugs, having public sex and it's just it's so
sensationalized. It's
just turned up to 11, and it's good. I just don't think because the reason why I say I'm kind of getting animated about it a bit is because there's people that are don't, they're taking hard lines in the sand, they're boycotting it and everything else. And maybe it is, I don't know, what do they call it? They said rap music did the same thing. Maybe it's influencing, maybe it is influencing a younger generation. But I mean, I don't even know where you would get access to all this shit. And there's nothing about the show that can give a high schooler the self-confidence of a 28-year-old woman with a full career.
Yeah.
Which is how some of these girls are acting, like they're just like, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, like if I could get a girl to just put her dancing shoes on, I'd have felt like I achieved it in high school. Like, you know, it wasn't lit like that. It was like, you know, you had your drug people and your this and your drinkers and all that shit, but it wasn't like, it was like, you know, just hanging off the rafters and, you know what I mean? Just nuts.
I'm 35 and I can't score half the drugs that they've got if I wanted to.
Yeah, right.
Hypothetically.
You know, but
I'm sure I could. I get drugs randomly sent to me in the mail for some reason.
I could sell my high blood pressure medication.
I'm watching The Righteous Gemstones.
Ooh, oh yeah, dude. Watch
It's
that. Not to mention that.
fucking great. It's the I don't know if you saw this week's episode.
No, we're a week behind.
Shocking episode, I will say, and I'll leave it at that. But it's fucking great. I highly recommend it. I have to say, I watched. I had a lot of people write in about the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know if you guys are watching it at all.
No.
About this previous episode,
Trying.
this last week's episode. Have you seen that?
I'm too behind on that.
So look, I'm going to spoil a little bit of this.
Don't care.
So people have been writing like, you know, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. And I don't know if they feel that I'm going to react this way, but I feel like they can't wait for my thoughts on it because they think that I love this. I don't think it's good. I don't think this last episode was good. I don't think it's great. I think that, for one, let me just read the notes. Boba Fett, Book of Grogu, has horrible acting. So that's another thing. The whole episode is pretty much about Baby Yoda, which has nothing to do with Boba Fett at all in the Boba Fett show. Cobb Vanth, who is a character in Mandalorian Season 2, gets shot. They don't really say what happens to him, but I said, I hope he's dead. There's a training sequence with Luke and Baby Yoda.
Is it a montage?
So, of sorts. But it is so heavy on the member berries. It is the exact training that he did with Yoda almost. Like, he's doing the somersaults in the air and the flips. Like, it's like, give me a break, man. It's basically the exact same thing. So the other thing that's in it is Cobb Vanth. Cad Bane is in it.
Yeah.
Which is great. And it's great to see him. But you know what? It doesn't mean anything if the show fucking sucks, which it does. It does. You can have Jesus fucking Christ, your nanny, daddy, two-panty granny, and the king of Siam in that bitch. It doesn't matter if the show sucks. It's insane.
So you're on the fence about it.
But I think that you know, people will criticize stuff. You know, like, oh man, this stuff is just good because it's preying on nostalgia, right? And I'm like, no. But now that I feel like it really literally is just preying on nostalgia, now people are liking it. And it's like, well, this is what you wanted all along. You were complaining about it before, but this is what you wanted. Mm-hmm. You wanted it to feel like your friends and you were outside as 5-year-olds playing Star Wars and you got to watch it on TV. Fine. But guess what? 5-year-olds don't tell good fucking stories and they can't act worth a fuck. So congratulations. Like,
my daughter's a pretty shitty comedian.
I bet.
Fucking
Mine suck at it too.
Yeah.
When they try to be funny, it's when they don't try to be funny that they're fucking funny.
Isn't that how that works?
Yeah. But it's like, you know, like I remember them saying like, episode 7 sucks because it's just TIE fighters and sand planets and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I get your point. I get your point that it's relying heavier on this other stuff and trying to member bury you. I get it. But now it really is. It's literally doing the same sequences again and people are loving it. It's like, so you're just mad they didn't go full nostalgia. You know, like it's like Joe Budden said about the song. Have you ever heard the song called Who by Joe Budden? It's fantastic. It's 15 minutes long, so it's good for the car ride home.
I was going to say, okay.
It's called Who, and it's about who killed hip hop. And he goes through the whole, like, this whole theory of it, right? And it's great.
Gonna add it to the playlist.
I was just doing the same thing.
You'll have to probably find it on YouTube because it has a Marvin Gaye sample, and if you know anything about Marvin Gaye, that shit ain't riding.
Right. Ask Robin Thicke and T.I.
But he said in there, all of the half these rappers started Hove said he didn't write his lyrics. Then half these rappers started saying they didn't write their lyrics. Then I started to believe them when I hear it. And that's how I feel. Is like, like it feels like I'm a kid again watching Star Wars and playing. Like, I guess it does, because it feels like it's written by 5-year-olds with a bunch of 5-year-olds playing the acting.
Like I said, it's nostalgia.
But,
when you look at actual quality.
I do have a question about Book of Boba Fett. Just a thought, because like every Wednesday we watch the Disney Plus show, whatever it may be, and this is one that we sat down, watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, okay. And then week 3 comes about, and so it's like, you want to watch our show? I was like, no, I'll be all right. So week 4 comes out, no, I'll be okay. Week 5 comes about, no thanks.
Right.
And then we sat down and started playing catch up. And my feel on it, at least watching it, Boba Fett was that cool character everybody liked growing up. Like with this show now, I actually dislike Boba Fett because
no, I agree.
It takes away the mystery.
Yeah, the whole, and not even the mystique, but just like imagine that like somebody that like seemed like super badass and super cool, super all this shit, and then you see their true colors and they're a fucking pushover. Like they're like, you know what I mean? Like they're like.
We just watched Empire a couple weeks ago. Empire Strikes Back.
I'm sorry. That wasn't even a joke. I thought that was you.
Well, when I said it, I saw your eyes. And I was like, he thinks I'm talking about that. John Leguizamo. But like we were watching that, and that's where the thought came from. It was like, Boba Fett was just cool. It was like, oh my God, this guy's so cool. And then we watched Book of Boba Fett. I was like, fuck this guy. And,
people be like, well, no, but he found, he got out of the Sarlacc and he had a second take on life, and he found, the Sand People,
Space Jesus.
The Sand People taught him family, and I'm like, well, I don't like it. I don't like that. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying you haven't written in an explanation as to why. I hope that you would have written in an explanation as to why. I'm saying I don't like it. I don't like your writing of the explanation.
But you know what the funny thing is? They're not writing it for you, though.
No.
That's obvious, isn't it? They're writing it for...
Well, I don't know if they're writing it for them. I feel like they're writing it for the dumb version of me.
Yeah.
And I'm no smart guy, but there's a dumber version of me out there that's just like, oh, space lasers are pretty badass. Like, it's just like this fucking lowest common denominator. Like
the Fast and Furious crowd.
Yeah, well, Chris, just because Chris isn't here doesn't mean that you.
Hey, it's not his month.
But like, that's true. It's not his month. But yeah, April. I don't think much. April's the hillbilly awareness month. And Chris isn't that. Speaking of Chris, I got to talk about this for a minute. Him and his lovely wife, who I think very highly of, took my wife and I out for dinner and a movie.
Class act, man.
Nice.
Like, we went to Man and Lou's has the best Italian food I've ever had in my life, and then we went to see Jackass 4, which was hysterical. Okay. I do have to say, though, in regard to Jackass 4, it is a different viewing experience. Because you're watching it now, like,
I was gonna ask you about that's what I want to know.
Fuck, man, like these guys might hurt themselves.
Oh, my back would be.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You watch it. Oh, be careful, Johnny. Like, like
can his son do this instead?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't you got kids?
They bring in 3 new cast members, and I know it's Black History Month, but I got one black male, one white female, and one fat. I don't know.
That's Eskimo. The studio. That's the studio. Then the studio said you need
maybe. However, in the first 10 minutes, fat dude 100% proves himself. He's part of the team as far as I'm concerned.
Nice.
He's doing all the regular shit that all the rest of them are doing. The other 2, not so much. The girl at the end does this thing called scorpion Botox, where they put a scorpion right in front of her face, and she puckers her lips, and the scorpion stings her lips.
No way.
To like blow her lips up. Scorpion Botox. So I was like, okay, you're in. You've earned your spot. You're in.
Black guy was like,
he doesn't do shit. The whole fucking movie, he just falls around. He'll tumble and shit like that. But all the real shit, he gets his father, who was like a real gangbanger or something. Like he gets his father to do this shit where they put like these glass globes on with like it's like a tube that goes between the two, and they drop a tarantula in it, and and they're like,
they gotta blow it,
blowing so to speak the tarantula back and forth, like trying to get it, and like the tarantula ends up in the father's little bubble. He earned his spot more than this new dude.
Get his father to do it
because he's a fucking pussy. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, because I would pass on that. But I'm not getting paid.
But you're not getting paid. You're not
show. But it was great, and I got to tell you, like, unlike oral sex, I'm much better at giving than receiving. And I don't really often think of it, but like we do often do a lot for other people. Like we often host dinners, we'll host, parties, we'll host, like we and when you come with the exception of alcohol, most of the time it's all on us. Like it's all, like it's our treat. It's our, like, we want you to just come, be happy, be full, and share a good time. And I'm never, whenever somebody does anything for me, like whether it's like, Chris, for instance, he'll pick up a tab, like he'll pick up a coffee or something, or pay a PayPal something that's like $7 just to like get the shit done. I'll dwell on it for weeks.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'll be like, fuck, like I owe him. I got to get him back. I got to make sure that, like, I'm just that way.
He's just a good guy with, common courtesy, and just, he's a man,
Correct.
Yeah.
So like it was when so he bought the tickets to the movie, because it's just easier for one person to get all the tickets, So he bought the tickets for the movie, and I was like, cool. And I was like, and then they hit us up like, hey, you mind if we drive? Because our house on the way, so that kind of makes sense too. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, let me fill your gas tank up. You know what I mean? Let me do that, right? Like, and he said, hold on there, money bag. Like, but like, and so he didn't take me up on that. And then we went out to dinner, and he treated us to that, and I was like, look, we can do, we could, like, and he was like, and he said, you guys have probably treated us to 100 meals, like, let us do. Mm-hmm. And I gotta tell you, like, I'm still wrestling with it, but it was fucking touching.
Yeah.
And I if Chris was here, it's easier to talk good about him when he's not here. Do you know what I mean? If he was here, I'd be like, it wasn't even that. If I'd have known that, I got an extra bottle. But it was thoughtful, and it's not lost on me, and I do appreciate it.
He's a good dude. But I will say this on that point. I think we're at an age now where we are in a position and age now where we can do this kind of stuff for each other, and it feels good. Mm-hmm. When we were younger, it was like, all right, let's split the check here and there. But if all three of us go out and I pick up the tab, I'm not saying, hey, Dante, you owe me 20, 30, right. We're not doing that, because we're in positions in life and we're responsible and we're adults. We know we're not keeping track of who does what. It's like, hey, when I go out, I'll pick up the tab and like, give me next time.
Right.
We don't keep tabs on that. And I think that's a sign of, first of all, your relationship with the people, but the people you're with. Yeah. When everybody's not looking at you when the check comes. Because it's not expected that you do this.
Correct.
You just do it out of goodness. It's not expected that Chris do this. He's just doing it because that's the kind of person he is. Like, so when we do it, it's just, we have to get used to receiving, like you said, where it's like, I don't owe somebody. Because when we were younger, we were always like, split the check. Yeah. I owe you this or whatever.
Well, and to be fair, like, I've always been like, I've always been that dude. Like, I'll pick up like money. To me, I like there's a whole pod on this, but like, money has always been like a whimsical thing to me. Like, it's always been like, it comes and goes. Fuck it. Like, let's live for the moment. Yep. And like, so like I'll often pick up shit, and I've lost friendships over it because, there's a time like danger, right? Like I'm not bashing the dude. I don't think poorly of him or anything like that. But like, I treated this dude to everything. If he was with me, he ate. If he was, he drank, like whatever. And I give without the expectation of receiving, mm-hmm. right? But then like when something came up and he had the opportunity to treat me to something that was like $20-$40, I think, like, and he didn't, then it felt weird. It felt weird to me. But it also felt weird to him, right? Because his whole life is like, it's like, no, I don't do you. This is what you do.
That's your role.
This is what you do. So it probably felt like a violation from, for both of us. But like, I don't know. It was just, I'm as a result, even things like that, where now I'm like super, like worried. Do I do enough? Do I, because of that? Like, other relationships in my life where like they'll point out like you could have done this and you didn't. So like I carry that, like I feel like I go through my whole life stumbling, like am I doing something to the fullest? Am I taking care of this person? Have I reached out and talked to this person enough? Have I done my part? Because people have brought it up to me so many times, right? That like when it comes my way, I'm almost like fuck. Like like is this the down payment on me not of a potential for me to fall short? So long story short, to be treated, and be like, I'll be honest with you, man, like this sounds like some, but like to feel like you're appreciated, it feels nice. Absolutely. And so I just want to say it, Chris. I don't even know if he'll listen to this shit, but
shout out to Chris. That's awesome, man. He's a good dude
that I appreciated it. All right, moving off of that. But he did make sure to talk about a Crashbox custom just so we could write it off. I'm just kidding. So then I have just two more things. One, they're both race related, so they'll just carry us right into the Joe Rogan shit. I got a friend request yesterday, Dante, from a guy that you and I both know. His name's Justin. He has an older brother that used to hang out with Bird. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So I didn't know who it was because his whole name wasn't on his Facebook.
Yep.
But there was something about the vibe and he had no pictures. Like his profile was like a corgi or some shit. Like it was bizarre, right? But there was no pictures of him. But I was like, if I had to bet, I would say it's this Justin, who I is cool. I don't think, we have a good, last time we spoke, which was probably in high school, we were cool. We've never had a problem. And I was like, so I went and double checked this morning and I'm scrolling through his feed to get an idea of who, I'm trying to figure out who the fuck it is. And there's a whole bunch of posts that you would share in the tick of a fucking second, right? They're just you couldn't wait. Nice. You'd love this guy. Just how he's the imbalance of everything, and he's the world's against him and black people, and it's hard out there for a pimp. You're trying to get the money in the shrimp.
I don't know this guy, but I like him.
And I'm liking. And then then I finally stumbled across a picture with him. And I'm scrolling for months. You know what it is? Oh, man. Him proposing to his white wife.
I swear to you, I would have put a check on that's what it was. I swear to you.
Yeah, when you say you're scrolling, it's like, I already know. I know what it is.
I knew it.
And then, of course, I just laugh. But I know this dude. Like, I know his heart. Like, it just was funny to me. So I wanted to bring it up. So then the next thing is... you, I gotta talk about you for a second. I'm glad you came. I made a note of it, not the one highlighted.
Black Power get together.
So let me tell you something. So like here's the thing, right? Because we're talking like a lot of this, because every time you're here we have race conversations, which I do look forward to, and you're not here enough anymore because you work on days that we often record, but. Inclusivity and exclusivity, right? Mm-hmm. So I stumble across a picture, and I'm not gonna put I can't put your @ out there because your @ out there has information that could be damaging.
Got you.
Right. But I come across a picture in your stories, and my first thought was, what do you think my first thought was?
You need to turn the contrast up. It's kind of dark in that picture.
So my first thought was, oh shit, it's Evan and this one and that one and this one and fuck, look at him too.
There was a person for every Joe Rogan N-word.
I don't know if I had the right button for that one to push. I don't know if that's appropriate. But all I was thinking was, I'd love to see those guys. I wish I could have been invited. And then it clicked for me. And I was like, oh shit, I would never get invited to that party.
truth is told, you actually would. you would. And I'm surprised you didn't. That was 2 years ago, obviously.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. That's why I made sure to put the date on there.
Oh, I didn't even pay attention because it's because Joe, who I'm quite fond of, is part of the reason why I can even sit here and have this conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, so
was in that picture, and I was like, man, did he come up? Was my first thought. Like, and they really had a little reunion.
Yeah, no, this was 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But that was my first thought. Was like, fuck, man. Like, I'm not I would love to kick it with those guys and the two white women that were there. Like, I would have, but like,
dang it, Bobby.
But I was like, fuck, man. I would never get and it would never. And then I started thinking about the people in my life from mopping that I often have here, and they're more often than not exclusive. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You, Conrad, Gomez, that's only the people that really mostly to come through. Chucky O every once in a while, and that's literally it.
Wow, honored.
But yeah, it just got me thinking. Like, man, like. Isn't that interesting?
Yep. It's funny, the talk of exclusivity versus inclusion. I just had to talk with somebody yesterday where I was advocating for inclusion. Like, when we're building better environments and mopping circumstances and structure and leadership structure, I said, it's great. Our goal should always be equality and not exclusion. Because once you delve into exclusion, you're practicing the same habits that people that were before you were doing. So all you're doing is, what do they say?
Flipping the table.
That's it. And then all you're doing is setting yourself up for the tables to be turned on you. How the turntables will turn.
What was that?
Was that The Office?
How the turntables have turned. Oh, fuck. I feel like it's like something super goofy, like Zoolander or some shit, but go ahead.
So, just had this conversation because he was all about the rah-rah, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm all about Black power, as you know.
Yeah, you love
However, don't become what you fight against either. And so there's a time and a place for certain get-togethers but more often than not, I'm all about inclusion, because how are we going to bridge gaps and start conversations if I'm not going to sit there and talk in an echo chamber? I get it. And I there are certain guys who be like, well, I'm not in the group chat or this, that, and third, not you. But it's just, I'm like, well, because I know your intentions. You can't invite everybody to the cookout, as they say. Because some people are just there to be a fly on the wall, and then, they're not productive. But there are people like yourself, and I got like 5 off the top of my head from mopping that I was like, they are productive to growth and progress. So I think when you talk about who's in the conversations and who's around, you have a way of engaging people of all race, right? Because I think you're genuine. I know you're genuine. And that's not common. So it leads people to be more selective with who you're picking and choosing. Because I had to tell somebody else, like, just because this guy's cool with you, my experience has been
something different. Right.
Whereas I dare somebody to say that Skullface, has ever made them feel a certain kind of way.
Correct.
Right. So that one in particular was funny though, because I think we talked about a couple people coming. Nobody was able to come, but it was just funny how the chips fell, and I was like, man, that, as I said, we are Black history.
Well, I'll tell you, if my wife and I come and we wash everybody there at the space table, what part of systemic racism are you going to blame them on?
Bro, I am going to go straight to HR. I'm going to put my proper voice on and everything. Johnny better answer his phone. Al Sharpton is on speed dial. I would love to play spades with you and your wife, by the way.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, if we lose, I'm blaming it on her.
Same here. That's how, I'm dead serious.
That's what happens with me and Sarah.
You know who the weak link on your team is, though, right? We all know who, because she gets mad when I pick Porter over her. I'm like, no, Porter and I have been playing for years.
Right.
Like, that is my guy. We know each other's signals and, all this other stuff. Her, she's like, I can get 7 books. And she's got like 2 aces in her hand.
All right, so let's transition into this Neil Young shit because the Neil Young shit continues, right?
Neil Young.
So now Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash, and they all reunite again to all pull their music off of Spotify.
Okay, that's what you
for Joe Rogan's disinformation or misinformation, not disinformation. Dissension, perhaps. So we're gonna, and then Joe Rogan's has this 2 to 3 minute video that goes viral. Of him saying the N-word. And to be fair, it's pretty much just the N-word, and it's 2 to 3 minutes. So there was some footage. There was some material to pull from. He then makes a video to apologize for it. And also to apologize for a story that he told that...
I heard that one too. Yeah.
So I'll be honest. So that there's 2 things to unpack there. And then there's the music thing, right? So let's just get into it. Let me say this. I'm not a Joe Rogan fan.
Okay.
Like, I don't listen to his podcast. I've listened to 2 episodes. The Maynard episode, which was awful, and the Kanye West episode, which was also almost unlistenable. And only because Joe Rogan didn't rein Kanye in, because Kanye needs, like when you're playing pool, bowling, and you can flip it so that the gutters are flipped up. That's what Kanye needs in a conversation, because otherwise he'll start talking about
nobody
Bezos
reins him in. Everybody's so nice.
Yeah, and
because everybody thinks like, well, just you got to give him his space and let him
right.
do what he does.
Well,
and it's
people
like,
want the content too.
Yeah,
let them talk freely, and people want the
that too.
clicks. Yeah.
That too. So, but obviously, I respect what he's done in the podcasting space. It's pretty incredible. He has a wide variety of guests on from all different walks and swaths of life. In that footage, which I heard recently that most white people, this is very funny to me, but most white people feel like an abused dog whenever that word is said. They feel like an abused dog when someone raises their hand. They're just like, but I think that's true. There's also nothing negative said in context in regard to that 2 to 3 minute video, which leads me to say that he was probably saying the word without necessarily a pointing of the finger, capital F, negative context, because if he was, that 100% would have been included in the video. So I want to say that's my opening statement regarding it.
This made me think.
He said, "How does slavery start?" Oh shit! So white woman raising her hand, correct? So let me. I want to get your. I can go on and on about this, but I want to allow. And I've talked to Dante a bit about it. But go ahead. What do you got, Dante?
All right. So I listen to Joe Rogan's podcasts mostly when there are fighters on there.
Right, because it's your bag.
That's my word.
That's your bag.
Yep.
And I've heard episodes where he said the N-word, and like you said, the context in that video was not added in there. Now, should he have said it? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, when I heard him say it, I was like, ooh.
So,
like, whoa.
So
like, what are you doing?
So let me ask a question about that. Let me ask a question.
What?
If it's Black History Month, as we all know, and
if
my kids
Black
come
Future Month,
if my kids come Black Future Month, and my kids come home today and they say, we learned about oppression today, and we learned about this word, but they wouldn't say what the word was, but it was a word that was used to hurt and dehumanize people. Can I not say and explain the word to my children?
I'll let you go ahead.
So there are ways to like. So the thing is with that, there's a word, and they want to know what the word is.
Correct.
So don't
eat that apple.
Yeah, it's tricky.
You can have anything you want, just not that apple.
Treat it like Voldemort.
Because it's like, even just talking about the subject in itself, there are ways around it without talking about that word. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, in school, You know, if they're talking about oppression and they even bring up the idea of that word, they've now set you up for failure.
Correct.
So
but
it shouldn't
it's
have been.
Also, it is history, right?
It is part of history.
Like it does require an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a touchy one. And let me tread lightly when I say this. There's a way to educate children, black, white, or whatever, about the word. Mm-hmm. And it's as simple as explaining it the same way I explain to my kids what a bad word is. Mm-hmm. They know better, right? They know what the word is, but they're not going to say it out loud. And I think explain to people why it's important not to say it out loud. Like I pull it up in a dictionary for you, read it in your head, but just know what it looks like and know all this stuff, but know that you are not supposed to say it out loud. And I think that's a good way to kind of educate. And if they ask why, we can go into the history of it, but just know that there aren't many words in the English language that are as, hurtful.
Oh, it's the most powerful word in the English dictionary.
So. Yeah. And so I think knowing and explaining the power, the hurt, and the history behind it is crucial into educating people, right? So then the question gets on, well, why can't I? Or why can this person say it and I can't? Well, you can explain that as well. While a lot of black people don't agree, some black people don't agree with it being said by anyone, right? Mm-hmm. There's others like, no, we worked hard to bring that, reclaim it, so to speak. So we're going to use it. I can understand both arguments.
Can I say something funny?
Eddie Murphy argument and the Bill Cosby argument.
Can I say something funny about that real quick? Troy, a black gentleman, mm-hmm. and in my opinion, the only brilliant person I've ever met in my life. But he's funny as shit in a way that you've never experienced. And the only reason why I say that is because I had never experienced until I met him. He's in a sociology class in college. And the word comes up, right? And the power of the word, the history of the word, et cetera, et cetera. And somebody says in the class, but it's often used in black communities. And then another black student spoke up and said, yeah, well, we are reclaiming the word. It's a word that we use only. It's exclusive to us. It was used to hurt us. Now we use it to love one another. Sometimes. Sometimes not.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I have records that would argue that.
I was going to say, but half and half.
Troy says, can we stop with that for just a second? And he said, what? And he said, that's not true. It's not true. And the kid who was saying this was like, what do you mean it's not true? And he's like, look, man, it's not true. I know it's not true. We just act like it's true for them. We say it because that shit sounds good. And it's fun to say. Them two G's hiding up in the middle. But anyway, continue. It's just a funny, so I'll always remember it.
To Troy's point.
Yeah.
He has a valid point.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, there's also a sense of having something that can't be taken
exclusive.
Away. It's exclusive. Like,
I get it.
There's very little things that you can tell a straight white man in America that he cannot do.
Oh, Christ. One of them's an opinion.
You had years of it. Your ride's over. And so I think it's a power dynamic thing. Like when you feel disenfranchised and for lack of a better term, oppressed, to have any type of weight or anything like that in a society in which you're told you don't have any, it's like, hey, I'll take if there's only one word in the English language you can't. Well, there's a few, but one in particular in this case that you cannot say.
There's definitely a hierarchy.
There definitely. That's why I couldn't say just one.
It's at the top of the pile.
It is, and there's tiers to it.
Yeah.
But that's the one where, hey, I'm giving you this whole dictionary, and the apple can't say this one word. I think it's that forbidden fruit type thing. Like, but I want to say it.
So here, I'll say this. I disagree. I also want to say this. I don't want to use the word. I don't like hearing the word unless it's in a record or in amongst people that commonly say it.
Yes.
I'm not one of those white people that'll be like, that would be like, oh, I just hate that word. Like, I don't like the racial slur version of it. And whenever it's said, I do get cringy. Like, fuck.
Like, I think that's where Joe Rogan messed up, because he had a hard R on them.
Correct. But it's always, and I don't know every time that he's used it, but I'm willing to guess that it wasn't hateful when he used it. And the reason why I'm willing to guess it is because if it was, it'd have been in that video. There's no doubt in my mind. If you were to say to me, what is the most powerful word in the English language? And I was to answer honestly, it would be that word.
Yeah.
You know? So if I said that word and somebody cut it and looped it, it could paint me to be a way that I'm not.
Correct.
You know? So let me say this. If I am going to... let me give an example. When I was a kid, there was one other white kid in my neighborhood that was the same age as me. His name was Michael Parasino. Shout out to him, wherever he is. And he is the one that taught me that word. And do you know what he told me it meant? He told me I should use it all the time.
Oh, he set you up for failure.
And do you know what he told me it meant?
He didn't like you.
He told me it meant all of the cuss words together.
Wow, like a Kamehameha.
So he said, like, when you're trying to really get at somebody, you can just drop that on them and you hit them with all the cuss words together. So I wanted to double check.
hey, trust but verify.
So I went home and told my dad, right? I asked my dad about it. And my dad was like, hold on one second. He got on the phone with Michael's mom. What she told him was, don't say that word. It's worse than all the cuss words together. But you see how that can, and like, to me, that's a miseducation situation, and now it almost got thrown into the ether in a way that could have been dangerous for me, you know. But like Camille Foster, who I would vote for president.
Who's Camille Foster?
He's on Fifth Column. He's a black gentleman.
I thought it was a woman. I'm sorry.
No, but Camille, you think about Bill Cosby again. Okay. He said, like, he refuses to say the phrase, the N-word. And he doesn't want anyone else to use it either. He wants that phrase.
Good luck with that, Camille.
To go out of vogue. And do you know why? He says, because we are adults. And if we're going to talk about the word, then we're going to talk about it like adults. And I don't want to talk to someone that sounds like a 5-year-old with the F word and the A word and the S word and the N word.
Oh, it's spelled Kemele. That's why.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Not
he
C.
spelled just like a black guy. Okay.
But and I'm not. My point of view on it is not to fight from this angle of, no, we should all be able to say it. That's not my thing. But I do feel like if it is educational, if we're talking about the word objectively and whatever, there is a question of intent behind it, right? And I'm not saying being loose with it either. I'm saying respecting.
Well, I think that's where I agree with you. However, we all know it's a slippery slope, and some people. And it sometimes is the vocal minority who will use it. And, I was just saying it in an educational way. There's a slippery slope. And I think that's why there's that inclination to kind of, no, we're just going to say the N-word. It's as opposed to, because there's some motherfuckers, and we know them, they mock with us, who will try and slip that in. Oh, I was just asking a question. I wanted, okay, motherfucker, you got one more time. You know.
So here's an interesting fact for me too. Do you know how many white people I've ever heard use the word in a hateful way in my life? One.
I was gonna say it's fine. One.
And it was one of my father's cousins in Florida, and we were on a vacation, and like we were staying at his parents' house, who was like my father's aunt and uncle, right? Mm-hmm. And he said I was bringing luggage out of a car. I'll never forget. It's visceral for me, and I'm like 5 or 6 at the time, and I know what the word is, and I know And he said it, and it was something in regard to something he didn't like about something that was going on. And I dropped my luggage back in the trunk, like out of shock. Mm-hmm. And I like looked at him, and then I looked at my father, and my father gave me this look like, not now. Mm-hmm. And then my father taught to me later on, like, some fights aren't worth fighting. You know, like, just let it go. And like, but like, I feel sometimes that there's and maybe there is, and maybe I've just lived a unique experience, but I feel like most white people that I talk to, even when white people get a little open behind closed doors, when you talk to most of them, they're like, it's a word that's it's not in vogue. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a controversial word
if you're going to say it
in white communities.
Yeah.
You know, it's maybe perhaps not as controversial, but up there, maybe even more, arguably.
So funny that this is all coming up, and just was it Saturday, I think, or like basically this past week at work. My site manager, we're both black, and we had a tenant who was white. Oddly enough, my manager, she's speaking with this white tenant, I'm speaking with another black tenant. We're off in our own world, cracking jokes, and after everything settles, my manager and I were sitting there talking. She was like, "Okay, brace yourself." I was like, "What's up?" I was like, and she begins, and the tenant that she was speaking with, we're on good terms with the tenant. She always comes in, we work with her, we help her. Sweet lady. She was telling a story about something going on at home with her daughter, granddaughter, and I guess some guy there, whoever. So as she's telling the story, this guy says to the child, who is mixed, basically says that word. You know, you're not good for anything but sucking.
Whoa. Holy
this is an 11-year-old child that he says this to.
Right.
So this tenant, she's upset, and she's talking to my manager, because we're like bartenders. People come there and pour their hearts out.
Right.
And she says it to my manager. My manager comes and was like, afterwards, what the fuck? You know, and we were kind of discussing, was like, I think with her, there's this weird comfort, like where we're at. We're like in Pasadena, Glen Burnie,
right.
that pocket where it gets a little dicey sometimes.
I know.
Oh yeah, you're down.
I'm out there. Yeah.
There's
right into the lion's den.
Yes.
When they put me at one location, there's a black gentleman that came in. He was like, "This is the first time I've ever seen a black man working at this location ever." He's been written there for years. He was like, "What did you do to get this job?" And I was like, "Is that a good or a bad thing?" I was like, "I don't know. You'll see." Wasn't a good thing.
Right.
But you know, we're talking about it. I was like, I feel like this lady, there's this comfort, and she's pouring her heart out and just kind of just going, and you know, just out of that frustration and anger of what was said there. And I wonder, it's like,
so I don't personally think, like, I guess I just don't philosophically believe in not using the right language for the right time.
So
like, if I'm discussing the history of that word, like, to my kids, I'm gonna say the word so they know what it sounds like.
No, I agree.
Dick Gregory's book, like the hard R, like, it's like, okay, if you know, you come across that book in the bookstore, or you know, it's like,
hey, do you have this book in stock? What book?
You just show a picture on your phone.
you know the one. No, we don't. Don't
speaking to the microphone.
I'm blind.
Make me say this.
It's on my phone right here. I'm blind.
Sign language. Actually, Childish Gambino did stand up, and then there's he knows the sign for that word.
Oh, really?
Like, because he referenced it in his sign language.
Even blind people say it.
It's fucked up.
It's not blind.
Deaf. Even deaf people. I'm sure blind people say it too.
I'm sure they.
Which would be more ironic.
A lot of people said it on Def Jam. I'll tell you that much.
That would be impressive if more blind people said it. How do you know?
But yeah, with this tenant saying it, and you know, us talking about it afterward, I didn't know how to feel. I was like, my only thought was like, just the context of the story is like, I don't think she was saying it maliciously, but there's also a way, you know, it's like, did you have to say it? And I think
what about in film?
Quentin Tarantino. I mean, I feel like if you're playing a role,
correct?
You're playing
if
a
you're
role,
telling
I think
a story,
yeah,
playing a role,
because there are people that feel like you should not.
No,
you know, like it should not, like, and my thing is, it's like sometimes it take his character in Pulp Fiction, right? I think it's Now, obviously, Ed Norton's character in American History X, it's important for him to say it too, only because it makes contextual sense, right? Yes. But I would argue that it's even more important for Quentin Tarantino's character to say it in Pulp Fiction, because there's nothing about that character that tells you that he's not on the up and up until he says it.
Correct.
And the moment he says it, you're like, oh, this is a different type of individual. Like, it tells a lot. Let me ask you a question to close this up, because we do have to move on. Do you think that Joe Rogan is a racist?
I would almost say no if it was isolated to the context of him saying that word. However, that Planet of the Apes shit kind of messed me up, man. I'll be honest with you.
That is a fucked up one. I mean,
you can't explain that away. That's fucked up.
So he did. I hate being put. Wasn't it Chris Rock that was like, love black people, tired of defending them? Mm-hmm. I do feel that way sometimes. I have used references before that after I said them, I've been like, fuck, I'm not sure how that's going to land, because I don't know the person that well or whatever the case. And I mean, that Planet of the Apes is a fish out of water story ultimately, right? And he was trying to explain, and I'm not saying that he was right or wrong. I'm offering it. I'm saying that this is his explanation of it, and I can see it. It's not beyond the plausibility of belief. That, like, he felt like a fish out of water and then said, what am I in Planet of the Apes? Yeah. It's like, okay, very poor, like when Batman told Joker, let her go. No, very poor choice of words. But what Batman meant.
Yeah. I just think it's one of those things where, okay, to answer your question, there's a such thing as unintentional racism too. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be racist to have unintentional racism or bias. And I think that might have been on display with Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. Not saying he's a racist, but it was racist for him to say something like that, whereas black people historically have been contextualized and whatnot as monkeys, apes.
So I think that's a fair point, that you can say racist things without being racist.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair point. I don't think that gets...
People don't understand that.
I would agree. Yeah. The only reason why I bring up that last question, what about you, Dante? I'd like to get your view on that as well.
Just based on what I've heard and listened to, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But I don't know the man behind closed doors. But the way that he does his podcast...
Just based on what you know.
You feel like you know the dude. So I would say no.
So I would say no also. Now, Andrew Schultz, are you familiar with him?
I love Andrew Schultz.
I love him to death.
Good dude.
Love him to death.
He's a big Joe Rogan fan too, so does he have bias?
Correct, 100%, 100%, 100%. But he put out this tweet on February 5th of the year of our Lord, 2022. The Rogan hit job started with misinformation about the vaccines and shit. That didn't stick, so now it's racism. Next, it will be misogyny. After that, transphobia. They are trying to make him radioactive because they fear his influence. This isn't about hate. It's about silencing a man they can't control. That's February 5th. Mm-hmm. February 6th, The Sun, the newspaper, podcaster Joe Rogan now slammed for over 2011 video of him laughing about forcing female comedians to have sex. Like, whether he's a racist or not in his heart of hearts, I don't know. I don't get that vibe from listening to him or from seeing him in interviews or what have you. He has a lot of, like a vast variety of guests on.
No, racism is no. I think based on the definition of racism, no.
I would agree.
Because it's built on an institution and it's certain feelings.
But I do agree that this is a hit. No. They're after him. And I don't know who they are. But whoever they are after him.
I know
he's on the bullseye now. They want his head, and when one thing isn't sticking, they are just moving on to the next.
We've seen it happen.
Yes.
So, back when before the election, 2020 election, he had Bernie Sanders on, and that it kind of started there a little bit, where his name started popping up in the media, ways to discredit Bernie. Mm-hmm. Well, Joe Rogan has said these types of things in the past. Again, pulling parts of the podcast out of context. And then, once we get to the COVID, and, again, as he said, everybody's talking about what he's done and what he's taken. Nobody's talking about the fact that it worked.
Right.
All they're talking about is like, oh, well, he's taking horse dewormer. It's like, that didn't stick. all right, well, let's go to the next level. And I know, listening to, especially when it comes to fighters, he speaks a lot about Fallon Fox, which is a transgender fighter who used to be a man, became a woman at age 32.
And now waxing them.
Yeah. So there was a fight where the info wasn't out there that Fallon used to be a man, and she had cracked another woman's skull in a fight. Mm-hmm. So but you get everybody defending this fighter, and Joe's coming from a scientific point, talking about specific things and why that's not right, especially when that information wasn't allowed. So that's going to come out eventually.
Well, they're saying the same thing about the swimmer, though. So I think that's a moot point.
But with fighters, it's different because you were punching people in the face, kneeing them in the face, elbow, like you're hurting someone.
Yeah, and I do feel like there is an element of, whether he's a racist or not, to me, it doesn't, at this level of the conversation, doesn't even matter, because, and I was talking to Dante earlier, the person has a protest sign out on the front lawn that's shouting, puppies should be pet 10 times a day. You should honor your mother and father. You should go to work on time. You should be nice, and you should love people, and you should eat your vegetables, and you should say your prayers at night. That's not the speech that we need to protect. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's the fucking bozo that stands on the Capitol in a white cloak, out of time, speaking ridiculous things. That's when we kind of need to stand up and be like, look, we have to protect that, because now is kind of when it matters. Because just because they see this as dangerous now, who's to say they won't see what we feel is good as dangerous in 10 years from now?
And they pulled Trump off of Twitter. Yeah. Everybody's celebrating. It's like, slow down, because you can be next.
Now, I will say, to kind of close it out, make no mistake about it, I don't give a fuck about Joe Rogan being racist. No, in the sense that you can kiss my ass with Joe Rogan. I want the racist judges, police officers, senators, congresspeople. I want them to be put on blast. I can give a fuck about what a podcaster say. He doesn't have as much influence as the people who make the laws in this country. So I think we need to make and enforce laws in this country. I see that stuff as kind of a distraction, because we got some 70, 80, 90-year-old motherfuckers who I know was into some fuck shit years ago, making laws and enforcing laws in this country. I think that's what we need to focus our energy on.
I agree with everything you said, except for his influence. He might be more influential.
He's influential, but is he impactful in the sense that he makes these
laws?
No,
that's what he's not legally
impactful,
and impact, but socially impactful.
Absolutely. But that's my point about Joe Rogan.
There's also one thing I'm going to close out with. This is just another example that's funny to me now in hindsight, just being as how the cookies have fallen. Joe Budden had a exclusive podcast deal with Spotify. It went sour. Joe Budden took a very vocal approach about the bullshit that was going on corporately behind the scenes. A smear campaign started on Joe Budden.
Always fucking with Joes.
A hit. Yeah. Just not your average Joes. You know what I mean? But a hit campaign started on him, and they pulled up this one segment from a podcast that he did where they had a dog on set, and the dog was laying on his back, and he said some shocking. He said, like, you ever just want to reach out and just, give him a little jerk just to help him out? And it was just being stupid and ridiculous and funny. And if you listen to the show, you would never take it, but it became an animal rights thing. It became all this in an effort to smear him because he had upset the status quo. And once again, on two people on two different sides of almost everything politically, the free speech for both matters.
What about that lady who was jerking off dolphins back in the 70s? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the only last thing I was going to talk about was quickly was the Batman poster got released. I don't know if you've seen it or not. I'm not actually a big fan of it. It's very collagey. It's not my bag.
I haven't seen it.
But what's interesting about it is if you take a black light to it, there's all sorts of like hidden messages and shit in it.
If you take a black light to anything, there's going to be hidden messages.
I thought that was going in a different direction.
But to play on the Riddler theme.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Are you looking forward to it?
I am, but I'm very. I don't know what it is. There's this voice in the back of my mind that's like, this one might be off.
Really?
Yeah, there's something telling me that this one might be off.
Me and Kelly are going to see it, I think.
Yeah, I think we might all be going.
Okay. Well,
we're in talks.
Got you.
But
we can set a date and all that stuff.
But anyway, say that to say this. I don't like the cow. There's a couple of other weird things I've heard about in regard to a prequel book that came out.
Trying to keep an open mind about it.
Right, I am too. There's just things about it that just make me feel a little weird. I don't know. Can't tell you why. And then that's it. Questions. Oh, let me use the unread feature. All right. So obviously, most people write in thinking that Chris and Joe are going to be here, but so we have this is from Paul C. So we've now reached the 30th anniversary of Image Comics. First question: in honor of that milestone, what are some great Image Comics moments that have always stuck out in your minds? This could be something about the company itself, an event, a title, et cetera, et cetera. What's the best Image title, and what is your favorite Image title? They don't have to be the same. So I mean, the best Image title is probably Saga. And I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's probably the best thing to ever come out of Image. And Image makes some great shit, especially now. What about? Let's just do that best and favorite.
So we have Saga. Sarah loves it. Mm-hmm. I have not read it. I love The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm a crazy fan of that series. It's fucking great.
That's probably the most successful thing to come out of Image.
Yeah, I would agree. Now there is a moment in the early years of Image, Black History Month. Shadowhawk. I can't remember the issue number. I have the issue though, where you don't know the identity of this character, and there's a criminal who's doing something. He's screaming out the N-word and just horrible. And Shadowhawk rips off his mask and reveals he's black. And that was a big deal when I think the issue came out like 94.
Do you remember the Spider-Man book that did something similar? It was on the McFarlane run.
Vaguely.
This guy, this white guy was mugged by a black guy. Spider-Man came down, webbed up the black guy, the mugger, and capital M. And the real quick, buddy of mine, it was also black, was like, sometimes I be feeling a way about black now, because motherfuckers use a capital R on one word and they use a capital L on the other word. Hit me with the black. But anyway, webs up the mugger. And then the victim is like, thanks, man, you know how, and he says and Spider-Man says, what makes you think I'm white? And then zips off. Yeah, there's another good moment. Yeah.
Walking Dead is probably my favorite, and I mean, just based off my experience, I would say the best. Yeah,
it's definitely the most successful. I had a problem reading it because it's black and white, and like I would have to like be like, okay, it's the guy with the hat. I couldn't tell the characters apart sometimes. I was like, I had to go back a couple pages. And
the early artwork is tough because everyone looks alike. I think once you get to like issue whatever, how the volumes right now, every 6 issues. So issue like 12, there's a new artist and the characters are easier.
Start becoming a little bit more unique. Gotcha.
And then motherfuckers get maimed and fucked up, so you got to tell.
Right, that's that was the thing. It's such a revolving door. The new characters, like people dying. I was like, man, I can't keep this shit straight.
I'd say Walking Dead was one of my. I had all the compendiums, and I was reading it. So for a while, it was. But I think for me personally, as far as my favorite would be Invincible.
Oh yeah,
that's like my favorite, hands down. Between the comic and also the animated series, which is phenomenal. I love it, and it's just
that book is great.
Both done by Robert Kirkman.
Robert Kirkman. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, like some of my favorite images. I remember when Death Match or Death Watch? It was like Death Mate.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Dolphin again. But like it was like the Top Cow characters and the Wildstorm characters had like a big crossover event, and there's multiple covers and foil covers and all that kind of shit, that 90s shit. But I remember like they went on fucking tour, and like it was like a comic book bus went on tour, like it was painted the side, like it had like the like it was a fucking band coming to town.
They were rock stars.
They were fucking rock stars. There you go. And I met them at this fucking comic book store, and the whole bit stood in line, like the whole bit. But my favorite moment, I think, of Image was when, because all those books were for the most part pretty poorly written early on. There was all style over substance.
Yeah, look at Spawn.
So Spawn was probably the best of them, but like. Yeah. So Wildstorm was Jim Lee's team, and it was built on this like ancient war of these alien species fighting the Cherubim and the Daemonites. And Alan Moore got a hold of this shit at like issue 50 and made them both go back to their planet, like made the Wildcats go back to their home planet, and they found out that the war had been over for like hundreds of years. So they just didn't get word. So everybody that they had lost in this bullshit war was for nothing.
Damn.
And but it's just Alan Moore doing it. Oh, I was just having the two things I don't do: normal shit or shave. But it was just him doing crazy beard shit, but it fucking is brilliant, But yeah, congrats to Image, man. Let's see. So then there was Kevin S. said dopamine fix of selling versus buying. Hey, Power Rangers, Happy New Year. You guys spend a lot of time talking about getting new shit, but I wanted to ask about selling old. A few years back, I was unemployed and found myself with a new baby and no way to contribute to the household other than selling parts of my collection. It was depressing at first, but pretty soon I started getting excited every time I saw something sold. I began going through my collection with a fine-tooth comb, searching sold eBay listings to figure out what the worth was, what I could sell next, et cetera, et cetera. Even after getting a decent job and not needing to sell off things to make ends meet, I still do. I reevaluate my collection on a near constant basis and sell things that are no longer relevant to me, using those funds to get new shit. My question is this: have you guys ever gotten into the rhythm of selling parts of your collection and found you actually enjoy that as much? So I think I'm able to scratch that itch, because their selling itch is real. Like the making money selling itch, like that whole bit is real. But I think I get that from like the drawing stuff. Like I scratch that itch that way. I have enjoyed, like every now and then, like I'll go through and purge the collection. Like I'll fine tune it. I'll be like, okay, I need to focus it a bit. But oftentimes when I sell it, I'm like, oh, great. I feel great. Look at all this money I got. Yes. And then I go to ship it and I'm like, oh, I don't have as much money as I thought.
Absolutely. eBay.
That's kind of how I feel. But I know I much more prefer buying than selling. I know that for sure.
I'm going through it right now.
But selling?
The selling. Yeah. That's like, and it's for no particular reason except like, my taste may change. Mm-hmm. As you know, I switched over from exclusively Transformers to a mix of Transformers and Hot Toys a couple years ago. But now it's one of those things where before I was buying everything that I thought looked cool at the time, I was like, all right, got to refine it, rein it in.
Right.
And so since I was just looking up, since November, I've sold 3 things that I've had in my collection for a few years.
What'd you sell?
It was the both True Force Mega Man and
did you have a classic
Shredder.
coloring of those?
I had the X and the black one.
Oh, go figure.
Yeah, I know, right? I tried to justify keeping the black one. Well, you know what? I didn't have it displayed anywhere. I was like, let me... And also what it is when you see the sold listings for certain items in your collection, you're like, okay, it's like stock market shit. Like, all right, sell now. Because if it's not adding to my collection in a meaningful way, and I can get a good price on it, a good dollar amount, then I might as well sell it because it's not doing me any favors sitting in a box.
I get it.
No shame on box collectors, but...
Right.
My thing is, and I sold the Shredder. I can't remember the one that came out a couple of years ago with all the accessories.
Oh yeah, the third party one.
Yeah, and that one was selling.
It's a great figure.
First Goken, that's what it is.
Little ankle issue, but great figure overall. Yeah.
But if I had been able to find a reasonably priced Krang,
that Krang is still fantastic.
I couldn't get it, so I was like, you know what? It's no point. But yeah, that selling high is real because now I can reinvest it in. Like I said, I'm buying the Thanos, and so now I'm looking through my Hot Toys, like, okay, what fits in my collection?
Right.
I'm looking at a couple of my Transformers. I'm like, okay, what do I really want? I've got a couple of the Mastermaids that I'm like, okay, I thought I wanted this, and it was good for the time being, but I'm probably going to end up selling those too. It's the Triptychon and the Devastator, Mastermaid. Great figures, but as far as my collection, I'm like, not, doing it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at prices of some of the legends that I have.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn. But,
every now and then there'll be that weird one that's just like
Shadowcat from that first X-Men wave back in 16.
Oh, really?
It's just like 130.
Like the yellow black. Oh, man.
I was like, wow, really?
Yeah.
Like, damn. Like I pulled up Rogue, can't find a price on her.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. But I don't have any intention of. So first, I'm lazy. I'm not going up to the post office and mail some shit off to them. Fuck them. Like if you're local and you're like, hey, I'll meet you here. Word, we can do that.
Right.
But if I got to send it to Australia, eat a dick.
Gotcha.
I only do continental U.S. shipping. I specify that in my listings, but local is much better.
Yeah, if it's local, and I see something like, oh, this person's like around the corner, they want this.
I've done that before. Let's meet up here. Yeah, but I do prefer that.
Next question is from Ibuka. He says, howdy, NRR crew, and happy Chinese New Year. I agree that the new Pattinson Batsuit isn't the
Black
greatest.
History Month, but
You see how they do that?
He's black. So.
Which is even worse.
Yeah. Come on, son.
Shout out to you.
He thought Joe was going to be here.
Yeah, he probably did. I agree that Joe hates Chinese New Year too, though. So he's from Hong Kong. They got a beef. It goes back. You can read about it. I agree that the new Pattinson batsuit isn't the greatest. I feel it's less like a batsuit and more of a generic SWAT uniform with a cape, cowl, and symbol put on there, which is a bit of a bummer because I think DC has been nailing their costumes. Vigilante and Aquaman 2, Black Manta being some of my favorites. Interesting. So my favorite question is, what do you think makes a good costume interpretation for live action? And are there costumes that you feel are a perfect translation from book to film? That's about it. Thanks for your pod and thanks for your time. I think it needs to be new, but it needs to capture a realistic spirit of it. Do you know what I mean? Like I've had this conversation before about like some things just don't translate well. When Superman Man of Steel came out, people were like, no trunks. And it's like, no, dude, they're not going to have trunks because it doesn't translate well. Like it's going to look like he's wearing red underwear.
Looks goofy.
Yeah. Like,
Brandon Roth one had trunks and it didn't.
And it looked goofy. Yeah. It worked during the Christopher Reeves era because it was also more innocent, like it's just fun and games. But now like the stakes are higher. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think about costumes that the Joker costumes are usually pretty great because it's just a purple suit, right? But I think that DC has been doing a pretty good job. Like even the Deathstroke costume looked great. I wish they could have explored some of that a bit more. Marvel wise, some of them I'm hit or miss on. Like I don't think the Thor costume is a great one.
It's very basic. It's not even costume either. It's just like it doesn't seem foreign enough to me. Like he's from another dimension or whatever. But yeah, to me, it's about capturing a realistic, new, but in the spirit of interpretation. Because I do get tired of seeing the same exact shit. So I want it to be a little new, but it also has to make sense.
Yeah, like if you can, like when they started the MCU before Disney bought it, I mean, the costumes were still kind of, the stories even too were updated. Everything was updated, but it still paid respect to what came before. Correct. it. I mean, when you look at the first Avengers movie, you look at that Captain America costume, it was a little fucking dumb. But when they went to Winter Soldier and then, Civil War, they then started updating and more padded and made sense.
It's funny, just to stay on brand with the conversation of today, but Porter went and who I'm quite fond of, but he went and saw Black Panther in the theater. And when he told me that, I was a little taken back at first, without fully thinking it through, I guess. But I was like, what other ones have you seen? And he was like, nothing. I was like, dude, you're a culture vulture. Of my culture. I was like, Black Panther is more mine than yours because I grew up with this character. I know, but it's just funny. You got any of the spring to mind? I love the Wonder Woman suit, like the
Wonder Woman is great.
You know what I mean?
Except for 84 when they put her in the heels. I didn't like that. So I think the question has to come up.
I'm never going to get upset about putting Wonder Woman in heels. I'm being honest with you.
True, but in live action, I'm like, is it functional?
Right,
so I think you have to ask yourself, what kind of movie are you making? Are you making a true, page to screen adaptation, or are you going to do your own thing? If you're going to do your own thing, I think you should take certain liberties with the costume while paying homage to homage.
I say homage, but I think it's up for debate.
I don't use that word.
Effect or effect?
Paying tribute to what came before. Because I think you can do your own thing with certain costumes without going too far left. Like it's like think of X-Men in, was it 2000 something, where they put all the other black suits.
Yeah.
They weren't realistically, they look cool, I guess, but they didn't look like what we knew as the X-Men.
They weren't indicative. They didn't capture the spirit.
And they weren't functional. You know for a fact nobody's flipping and kicking and stuff in that.
Right.
So I think you have to, if we get a live action Bishop, I don't want him to look like that.
No.
Right?
No.
So you have to think of what kind of movie are you making, and is it going to be like more grounded? Is it whatever? I think one of the ones that stands out to me is the Winter Soldier. Had a great costume.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think based on what he was performing, you're gonna like this. Black Panther had a great costume because it was functional, and it. You know, some people when they put the helmets and stuff on, it looks like a bobblehead.
Yeah, well, the fact that I think his helmet is pretty much all CGI.
Yeah, and I think
that helps tremendously.
Yep. So you have to think about what you're going to do with it. Does it look better for us to have CGI aspects or practical effects? I mean, you saw with Green Lantern, CGI ain't always the way to go.
No.
But there are others where it
works.
So I think, and it should evolve over time. I do believe. To your point with Captain America, his costume evolved over time to where he looked less goofy. To like, okay, I can see that being his costume.
And I like also to your point that Marvel has done this thing where they've tried to shoehorn like the comic book look. Like, you know, just as a tip of the hat, like Captain America wearing the comic book suit to go be the propaganda guy during the war. You know, Scarlet Witch and Vision wearing the costumes at Halloween and shit. Like, I have liked how they've done that in Marvel.
And with Black Panther, as you saw in Civil War, you know, the helmet came off, but then when you get to the actual Black Panther movie, now it's part suit
of the suit
with the necklace.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had something else. Oh, X-Men Apocalypse with Psylocke.
Yeah.
That costume is like,
That's fucking hot.
you know, fan service wise, we're like, yes, they're doing it. But then when you really watch, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Is that functional? Is she going to take time to put those little bands on her arm?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm still not mad at it.
No, I'm not either.
I'm just like, I'll double down. I'm gonna double down on it.
Kind of fucking goofy, but I'll watch it again.
It's to distract her enemies
Yeah, sure.
during combat.
Definitely worked.
It worked with me.
Got me.
But to his point, the new Batman suit, I think you got to give it a chance. I agree, but I'm treating it as a year one Batman, so he still needs to tweak it.
I think we get several year one Batmans.
Know, right?
At this point, it's like, okay, can I get a year, many years later Batman?
I loved when Christian Bale was in like the ski mask and like, you know, like cargo pants and shit like that, just to explore that. I love when he had the stapler to Gordon's head,
yes.
You know, and Gordon was like, "You're only one man, now we're two."
You know what? That you just reminded me. My favorite suit, Daredevil. I like
the modern one,
from the Netflix
or the
series.
the Ben Affleck one. It's okay.
Not the Ben Affleck one. It's the modern one. Only because they showed the process of how he made it, how Melvin made it, and what went into it. Like he reinforced the helmet, and this has this. So I think that stood out to me, and because I've recently rewatched the series.
I love Cyborg's, the way they did Cyborg in these, like that it looks like he's in pain.
Yeah,
like, you know, like it's like it doesn't look like a pleasant experience. Yep. Like he's not just running around booyahing you to death. Like he's just like it's like a fucking tragic look at that. Like, but it's still in the right spirit. It's still in the right, you know.
Cyborg is Sophie's favorite character. She's been reading Teen Titan Go. She loves Cyborg and Beast Boy.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, of course.
Dr. Diecast, my man Sanjay writes in, "Dear NRR, I would like to follow up on and applaud Chris' comments on the metrics of trade schools and the successful careers they generate. Education in America stresses achieving high grades in traditional subjects. This teaches students to focus on obtaining these high grades and not necessarily obtaining knowledge. That's why so many good test takers have no common sense or practical skills, which you and I both know."
I got some common sense.
My wife and I both did it right, so to speak. Straight A's, top SAT scores, host of extracurricular activities to pad our college resumes. When we finished our higher education, we did secure careers with excellent compensation. Oh, dude, love to hear it. but we're also responsible for significant, and I mean significant, debt. We both worked tirelessly to pay off that debt, and a few years ago, we had the good fortune of buying a second home, a beachfront condo on the Jersey Shore.
Brag much?
However, hold on, I hit the wrong button. There it is. However, we lost out on the premier condo in this building when at last second we were outbid by, wait for it, the owner of an HVAC company. This goes to show there are many ways in this wonderful country of ours to become successful. Sanjay, I agree, and I think I champion trade schools too. I think college is great. For instance, for people that know exactly what it is they want to be, and they know like my wife wanted to be a PT. She had to take these courses to become a PT to get certified. She got those courses. She got out with a tremendous amount of debt, like yourself, and then became a PT. I went to school and I was like, I guess I'll be this. You're supposed to do this, right? And then I got out and I couldn't do shit. So, yeah, I agree. All right, so Blaster writes in again. And because a lot of people, we talked last week about that phrase, like, I'm not a number, I'm a man. But they told me the movie it came from. Forgive me, I've forgotten it again. But they were saying that it was used in Iron Maiden records, and I think that's where I remember it from. So he sent in some more audio clips. We'll play them real quick to use to pad our buttons here. Let's see here. We got this one.
AdultFriendFinder.com.
All right. Here. Wonky donkey. Here.
Do they serve alcohol at Denny's?
All right. There we go.
I'm not a number. I'm a man.
There you go. And then here we go. Here, last one.
Fuck!
Hey,
I like that one.
I like that one close up.
Rogue War said, "What's up, Nerd Rage crew? Before we begin, I just wanted to give you guys a huge thank you for taking the time every week to share your stories, Nerd Week's jokes, news, opinions, shenanigans, and good old-fashioned monkey business." Easy does it now. It is a weekly staple I would have trouble doing this without. It is a weekly staple I would have trouble doing without. And always love hearing you guys. On to the question, which has a few parts. The powers that be at Hollywood have granted you unlimited funds and resources to produce a movie about your life. It can be about your life experiences or a fictional role of your choosing, but still portraying some of your personal characteristics. What type of movie structure would you choose? Comedy, action, sci-fi, drama? Let's start there. Probably drama. Probably a drama. I'll be honest. Dante's is a horror story in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I like to get a good joke in there, so it would be a drama, but you got to be able to laugh at that shit too.
Yeah.
Some of that shit's kind of fucking goofy.
What about you?
I think it'd be a romantic comedy starring Matthew McConaughey.
In blackface.
In blackface. Yes. All right.
All right. Out of any actor, actresses, who would you pick to play the part of you? You could also play. I mean, it's got to be Bill Burr, right? Like,
I like that. Yeah. That fits.
It fits.
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, Mackie.
You think Anthony Mack? You think Falcon? You think Black Falcon could do me justice?
I think also because you don't like him. Like, so, like I told you, I have a theory on it that I will not believe you if you detest it. But so Evan hates Anthony Mackie, but I think that you two kind of favor one another,
Striking Viper's ass
in some regards. And I think that one time your wife said that he was attractive, and ever since you written him off. Is my theory.
He's like my evil twin. I guess. You know what? I can't be mad at him. He's fine with me. Me and Anthony Mackie are at peace. He's fine. I like what he did for Captain America.
Oh, so, dude, look at you for Black History Month, dude.
Good for him. We got to stop all this.
You've been working on
internal. Yeah, exactly. I can recognize a good dude. So I take back what I said about Anthony Mackie. His first iteration of Falcon was trash. However,
you've grown to like it.
I've grown to like him.
Fair enough.
He could play me in a movie.
I'll tell you, Dante, this is a peculiar one.
I don't know, man. I mean, me being selfish, I'm gonna go with Black James Bond. I can't say his name because I don't know how to pronounce it.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
I can see that.
I'm gonna go with that guy because everyone's like, he's so handsome. Like,
I would get the dude who played the UPS man on a Mad TV.
Phil Lamar.
Okay. All right, not okay with that.
I love what you I love coming here.
I like to think again that I'm a beautiful man like Black James Bond.
Oh yeah, just like I think of beautiful man like Bill Burr. Yeah, I have a realistic.
I feel like I could go international too and be James Bond.
I could go international.
I got skills. I could do shit.
Hey, the scarf says it all.
Yeah, I can show up with my scarf on.
Stringer doorbell. What would the rating be? R for me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely R for me. I mean,
I could get away with PG-13.
I believe that.
Mass market that shit.
I believe that. R for Dante for sure.
yeah. I mean,
Hard R.
I mean, like we would try.
That was unintentional. That shit was good.
Perfect.
He says he says if we are lucky enough to have Dante or another guest, please have them throw their hats in the ring as well. So
you're in luck.
a brief story outline for bonus points. No, it'd be about an abused kid that grows up smoking and drinking and fighting around the world. All right, Jeremy B says, what's up, Nerd Ragers? First time, long time, and I have some questions for the team. Chris, I miss our special talks on Mondays, so I figured I'd reach out here. Sorry, Chris is not here. So, but he says, my wife's 90-year-old grandma, Helen, was a huge pro wrestling fan.
Nice.
From the 60s through somewhere around WrestleMania 4 or 5. She isn't aware that kayfabe ever existed or that it died. The embarrassing kayfabe. That's what I'm thinking about. The shit opens doors.
Chris.
As you might imagine, our conversations are fascinating. As a thought, I think he's meant thought experience. Yeah. But I tell you, if she's down for the thought experience, give her my number.
Wow.
All right. How would you explain deathmatch wrestling to Helen and sell her on its virtues? Do you know what deathmatch wrestling is?
I do.
How would you sell it to a 90-year-old grandma?
Holy crap.
Down for the thought experience.
So there's this big black pipe.
Oh my God.
Now, deathmatch experience. So she's an old school wrestling fan, huh?
Yeah, that's what it says.
I don't think if you're an old school wrestling fan, you're really going to get down with deathmatch, but because it's so gory, it's the blood and everything, like the backyard wrestling kind of stuff, where they take the light tubes and tacks and all that stuff. It's very bloody, very gory, very it's deathmatch,
right?
Barbed wire shit,
right.
It's how would you like? That's tough. You can't get an old school fan into something like that.
Can't really. I don't think there's a way to really sell it to an old school fan because they're set in that thought process back then, because even by the time she got out of it, about around WrestleMania 4 or 5, that still wasn't.
They're like, oh my God, a chair shot.
That wasn't a thing yet, so it's a hard sell.
Hey, she might just have to pass on that one. You ain't gonna get her into that.
Yeah, just try to get her down for the thought experience.
Yeah. Just trick her, just put it on.
Just put her, see how she reacts. That's what.
Joe's not here, but we'll try it anyway. Like many people our age, my first modern experience with anime was Ghost in the Shell. Also, the first DVD I ever watched. Anime didn't stick for me. Too much cloak stepping on my taste. Yeah, I get it. You stepped on my cloak. But the otaku culture continues to interest me. Were you into anime before this time? And if so, how did it work before streaming and DVD made things more accessible? So, Jeremy, you'll have to resubmit this question because I'm not responsible enough to keep this stuff organized. If you want Joe's information there. Bobby, a couple years ago, you talked about the exciting prospect of NECA going deep into the TMNT cartoon line. At the time, you said you were all in, and I was right there with you. But you only dreamed as big as Mondo Gecko. I think it's fair to say NECA has exceeded all expectations in regards to character completion. Good on them. But now I'm a handful of pre-orders and Usagi Yojimbo, a human Baxter Stockman, away from calling my TMNT complete. How far out are you? Will you see it all the way to the end? What are your thoughts on the way the NECA has been achieving the goals achieve, and what is their diminishing returns? Are we already there?
Stockman?
Yeah, Baxter.
You got the Tyler Perry one?
Yeah, I was going to say, which one did you get?
So look, I'll say this. Well, you know what's interesting in the comic book, he was a black guy, and they changed it in the cartoon, which I was also, for the record, gentlemen, I was against. I was adamantly against. But I was also against Terry Fitzgerald being a white guy in Spawn as well.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah,
but now if you just leave fucking Human Torch alone, we could get back to business. But let's get.
It's either make them both.
I know. I agree. But in regard to this, I would say this: I am amazed that within pretty much a year and a half, NECA has almost completed the Turtles line, and here I am 8 years into Transformers, still waiting for a fucking Protectobot set. You know, like what NECA toys are not great. They look great, they're painted great, but they're not great toys. But the fact that they have been able to go as far into this line as they have is one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen, and deserves a lot more credit. That being said, I'm going to go as far as my displays will allow me. When my display is full, my collection is full, and that's it. I am with you in the fact that I only want a Usagi Yojimbo, the rabbit, the samurai rabbit.
Yeah, I know all,
and I'm done. I've got all my major checks are done. But it's not like if you put a Ray Fillet out there, I'm not going to pick it up. Of course, I'm going to pick a Ray Fillet because I don't have any sense. But yeah, I'm willing to explore it as far as it will go in regard to how much my collection can hold, my shelves. But when the shelves are full, my collection's full, and I don't need any more after Usagi Jimbo. I'm good. Is my thought there. But I agree that they need a lot more credit than they're getting. Billings wrote in and says, I have a multi-tiered question this week regarding celebrities. My mother always bought TV Guide, People, National Enquirer, and whatever other junk magazines that hung on the racks at the grocery checkout lines. She was always curious who was fucking who and how much money this person made for doing this movie or that song. Fast forward to the early mid-2000s when MTV died. Everything about reality TV and the daily lives of celebrities. It then came Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the bullshit where celebs live in our faces and blah, blah, blah. Yep, I agree. I want to know if you hold celebrities up on a pedestal. Do you look up to them, any in particular? Would you like to meet any? And if so, what does that do for you? Would you be starstruck or experience a type of sensation? What if they were a complete dick? I personally think it's all nonsense. We pay these people to entertain us, and damn good money too. I can't think off the top of my head who I would even want to meet or if I would gain anything out of it. If I had to pick one, I think it would be Jack Black. He's always seemed like a cool guy. I think that's the most famous person I've met was Adam Sessler of the old Tech TV Game 4. I saw him outside having a smoke at a convention in Seattle and said hi for a few minutes. Have a great week. Let me get back to these. We'll go piece by piece. I want to know if you would hold. If I don't hold celebrities up on a pedestal. Does anyone?
No, not at all.
Okay. Do you look up to any in particular? I do. I had to be honest. I look up to some, like I look up to Kanye creatively. Mm-hmm. Like I think that some of the things that he's willing to do to push the boundaries on, I'm in awe of it. Mm-hmm. What? You got a smirk? You want to be a little smirk from Chicago?
Hey,
you a little smirk?
I'm looking at it like, okay, Kanye. Well, you know mine's Dwayne Johnson and Will Smith.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
What the hell? I just was smirking.
Oh, you want to open marriage? You want some entanglements? But I look up to Hove. Like, that's a guy that, like, I'm like, man, like that fucking guy came from nothing, you know, and he's a fucking billionaire. Like that shit, like, it resonates with me. Ironically, I wouldn't want. I met him briefly at an airport, and I was starstruck by it. It's the only time I've been starstruck in my life. I've told the story before, but he just was coming out of the airport. It was right after the Reasonable Doubt, so he wasn't even a big deal at the time. I saw him, and I was just like, Jay. That's all I could say. And then he just, as he walked past me, and as he was walking past me, he went, and did a head nod. and I'll be honest with you, it sounds like some. Hey, yeah! But I went into the bathroom, had to put water on my face. Like, did that shit just happen? You know, like I'm 15 years old. I couldn't believe it. But I would never want to meet him now. You know, like I don't think I would. I don't want to meet him now. I don't know why. I just don't feel the need to. If I were to meet a celebrity now, the person I would want to meet would be Gary Oldman. It's like a person that I want to like pick their brain about their art. But that's it. I do look up to Gary Oldman that way too, as an artist. Like I think that he takes that craft pretty seriously. I don't know. Zack Snyder for being a fucking comic book god.
What I always find impressive about Zack Snyder is his first movie was The Dawn of the Dead, that remake, and it did great. It was I thought it was a really fucking good movie.
Oh yeah,
and then he followed that up with I think Watchmen or 300. It was like
300,
just one after the other.
Yeah,
just like starting his career like that.
I just think he's visually amazing. Like same thing like that. Forgive me, I don't know his name. But the Indian dude that did The Cell and he did a movie called The Fall also. Just he did Immortals also. Yeah. Just a visually amazing dude.
Yeah. I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
he started off in like car commercials. That's like his claim to fame. Like he did a ton of car commercials that were like beautifully shot, and then he got a movie deal.
Actually, I feel like maybe Marilyn Phil brought that up when we were talking on one of the horror movie podcasts. Mm-hmm. Somehow that came up. And I think he pulled it up on his phone. It was like, talk about the car commercial stuff. Mm-hmm. It was like, and he kind of went back to the commercial life. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's weird, man. In terms of like what it would do for me, it's just for more so. It's more about for me, like meeting Gary Oldman. It would be about learning, like just like about somebody's craft. Like that's it, just the information, And if I were to meet Hove, it would just be about like. I would try to pick his brain as to like how the fuck did you turn this into that? Like just try to learn from him.
Damn, you're deeper than I am. Because any celebrity that I would want to meet, it's just me feeling like, oh, they're probably cool. I want to hang out, have a drink with them or something. Like Samuel L. Jackson. I would love to sit there and just shoot the shit with him. Like, 'cause I think he'd just be hilarious and just a good time to be around. So.
I would try to meet Britney Spears now because it looks like she get a crazy top.
I'm telling you, sometimes you can see like, man, this is the time. If it was Amanda Bynes a few years ago, like if this was a time for her to fuck a regular dude, this is it.
And if they were a complete dick, that would suck. I'm trying to think if I've ever had like a super negative celebrity. Like the worst one I ever had was probably Billy D. Williams. He was just kind of an asshole. Like
really.
Yeah, it was just disheartening, man. It was at a Star Wars convention. He like wouldn't take his shades off, like wouldn't take a picture of you with like he wouldn't even look up at you. Like he would sit there and just be looking at the table with a pen and just reach
45.
So somebody had one in line for him to sign, and he was like get it out of here.
He probably regrets that shit. Yeah,
but he was just looking down at the table, pen in hand, and had his hand out to take your thing, bring it down.
That's one of them contractual obligation signings. That's what that is. If you catch him on like when he wants to do it, I'm sure he'd probably be.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you can always catch these people on a bad day. That's another thing. Like you have no idea what they went through.
Yep.
Like you just assume they're going to be this super cool person that you hold them to. Like
it has to be the right side. I met Maya.
No shit.
Maya. Yeah, we were coming back from our honeymoon, and we were in DC getting off.
She's from DC. Yeah.
And I look. Oh, I think that's what she's short as shit. I was like, I think that's Maya. And my wife's like, oh, whatever, it's Maya. I was like, no, that's fucking Maya. And keep in mind, we're coming back from our honeymoon, and not starstruck, but it's like, man, she's like walking around, no security, no.
Yeah,
just said hi, and we,
she's just a regular star right now, not even a superstar.
Exactly. She had a nice little conversation with us, and we just went on about our day.
Yeah, that's cool. Coolest celebrity I ever met probably was Ray Park. Darth Maul. Mm-hmm. Like he was and Rosario Dawson was super fucking cool too.
Yeah, I believe that.
But like the Ray Park story was like he was on his way to the bathroom and Adam and I happened to catch him. We're like, Ray Park? And he's like, yeah, man. I was like, could we get like he has a line of people like paying money. Mm-hmm. Like, hey man, could we get a picture? He's like, fuck yeah, like just grabbed us and like, you know what I mean? Like just didn't have to.
That's nice.
I wouldn't have thought twice if he was like, look, man, I got a line, because it was fucked up of us, to be fair. So I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but he took a time out, so I appreciate it. What about you? You got any celebrities that you'd like to meet, Dante?
I don't really.
The Hardy's hand.
I don't care about celebrities. I mean, like it's just they're people. Yeah. That's it. I mean, like that's it. They're people. Like I mean, as I was talking about before, like when I reach out to fighters about being on off the mats, mm-hmm. I'm not expecting a yes. So mm-hmm. I've had a couple that have said yes, and it's like, oh, it's shit.
True.
Like
it's true.
I really didn't have a plan for this,
right?
But other than that, no, fuck them.
Richie K writes in and says, howdy spell table, update to the D&D Star Wars game. You gave me some ideas to work with. Good. Funny enough, my player started out on the planet Felucia, so they were able to retrieve Aya Sakura's lightsaber as their adventure prompt and begin their journey. That's like one of the things that we recommended. Next, they are headed in the direction of Megiddo to see if they can locate Ki-Adi-Mundi's saber. Oh, awesome. So he's taking a bit of our... We gave some recommendations as to what we would do. So that's cool. I'm feeling this...
In the Middle East?
It's a planet in Star Wars. It could be in the Middle East of the galaxy. I don't know exactly where it sits.
It's all the same.
I'm filling the story with a bunch of original planets and characters so they can have a lasting effect in their version of the galaxy, but I've also had some familiar faces along the way. Cad Bane has been hunting one of them. And they've crossed paths and been betrayed by Hondo. Currently, we are aboard a derelict Geonosian warship, playing heavily into the ghost ship trope of every RPG ever. What other lesser-known characters and places would you guys suggest to fill out the game? Or specifically, Joe, what has been some memorable D&D obstacles? Well, hey, Joe's not here, unfortunately. Shit, man, I felt like I emptied my clip last week. To be honest with you, I don't know. I would maybe explore some. I'll be honest. There's planets in the sequel trilogy, specifically in episode 7, that I found interesting, like Maz Kanata's planet that she was on, Takadania, some shit like that. Like, it would be cool to tie that into something back in the prequel era. Maybe look at some of the sequel trilogy stuff and tie some of those to give them a little bit more meaning and depth. Yeah. It would be my only recommendation. I'm about out of ideas, man. I had you last week. you took it off the giving tree. I got, you know what I mean? I'm not. It's funny because I was really proud of my answer last week, and then now it's like, oh, it was what? And I'm like, fuck. I'm not really proud of this week's answer. I'm sorry. KFC said, "Sup, Power Rangers, got a top 5 for each of you, going from 5 to 1." All right. So who you'll be Chris because you know wrestling, and you'll be 1 Dante because
I don't know shit
because you don't know shit about anime.
Fucking right, doggy.
Sup, Power Rangers, got top 5. Bobby, the good old top 5 fans toys figures. Oh God, I don't know, man. And top 5 is a weird thing to say. Like top 5, like my favorite or the most impactful or the ones that changed the game, like et cetera, et cetera. Like I'd probably say that Quake Wave deserves a spot in that top 5 conversation. I'd probably say that their Motor Master probably deserves a nod just because the whole fucking trailer is his backpack. You know, like who has done that before? Like it just deserves credit for that. 3, 4, and 5. Let's see. I don't know, man. Maybe probably they're Insecticons. I don't know. I'm not good at this. I suck at top. Top 5. I could do other stuff. Just not toys. Like I don't know. Like the problem with fan toys, like it's easier to do the shitty 5 because most of them are so good.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, probably the fucking Dinobots would be in the top 5. It's like a 5-way tie across the thing. Galvatron is fucking beautiful. So yeah, that would be my list. All right, Chris for the day. Yeah. Top 5 wrestling moments that you watched on TV as it aired or in person.
Oh man,
I could do that one. I can't do anime.
All right, you both can give your top 5s for that.
Top 5 that aired.
He said, I don't know. Oh, he said, because we knew that Joe wasn't going to come. So it said, to the guest, turns out we have 2 guests. I don't know who you are yet, so I'm going to let Bobby and Pickerton each ask you a top 5. Okay. And yeah, all right. Cool. We're good. Continue.
Top 5
wrestling moments.
Oh, man. Shit. Almost anything. You're going to laugh. Almost anything with The Rock.
Oh my God!
I know. I knew. Okay. Matter of fact, specifically when The Rock joined the Nation of Domination. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the Nation of Islam. I was like, I didn't know that happened.
Same thing. it was literally the same thing.
What about when all the dinks came out from Doink? That's my favorite part ever. It is.
I want to say AEW as a whole, like.
You and Chris are parking your cars in the same garage.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Just you got to chalk that up as a whole. Stone Cold did something I can't remember what the fuck it was, but
he's done a lot of
things. He's done a lot of things. Exactly. He's on there somewhere. But you got to look specifically. I'm like shit. I would say Kofi Kingston winning the championship because that was big.
That brought me back to wrestling. I was like, I teared up. I was like, oh my God,
that shit got me. And Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks at WrestleMania.
That got me too.
Yep.
No, I'm gonna switch it up. Unless you got one that you really want to mention. You got something you really want to mention?
Well, let me hear what you got.
I want to hear top 5 horror movies.
Top 5 horror movies. All right. In terms of fright or just good movies?
If somebody made you write down and you had to pick, you can define it however you want. So it could be fright, or it could just be good, or it could be whatever you would, define the genre as.
Train to Busan.
Okay,
it's a Korean zombie movie. Dude, it's so fucking good. Dude.
Okay.
It's just like Korean horror movies. There's a level of character development and heart to their stories. Mm-hmm. I mean, I could probably fucking out of top 5 probably give 3.
Wow.
Like out of those.
Wow.
But
that's interesting.
Train to Busan is maybe now number one for me. I just love that movie so much. Fuck, now my brain just went fucking blank. But yeah, Train to Busan, as far as just overall horror or like a good movie, I like to go back further because we've been watching older movies lately. The original 13 Ghosts.
Okay.
You just like putting yourself back in that time and watching that movie for the time that it came out. You watch it now, it seems goofy, but if you put yourself in, you can understand why it was frightening.
About the early 2000s one?
No. From I believe it was the 40s.
Okay, wow. I didn't know that there was...
now because they redid a bunch, like House on Haunted Hill. There's a whole bunch of like remakes that came around during that era.
See, I didn't know.
The Dark Castle production company put all those out.
Gotcha.
And yeah, the remake for 13 Ghosts, I still hold in high regard. Zack Snyder's, I said it earlier. Goddamn.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. And that goes kind of hand in hand with 28 Days Later, though. 28 Days Later.
That's a great fucking movie.
It gives you the introduction of the running zombie.
Yeah.
That was scary as shit first time I saw it.
Yeah. And just the way it was shot, it seemed so real and gritty and fucking believable.
Yeah. And now it's going to be a little zombie heavy because Sarah and I just sat.
Right, you've been in zombie mode.
Fucking 20 of them.
You might be the real zombie at this point, if you know what I mean. Bloody brainwash.
So we got Train to Busan, the original 13 Ghosts, or either 13 Ghosts, Dawn of the Dead, and 28 Days Later. So I got just hand in hand in there. The Amityville Horror, the original. I mean, both the remake was good too, but the original, I don't know why and how, but for some reason this shit scared me. And
the Amityville Horror? Yeah. I mean, it's fucking scary.
It's in the name.
It's a horror.
I mean, that's a classic. You don't have to explain that for shit.
It's supposedly based on a true story. I've heard other conflicting things like, no, it's bullshit, but I'm on episode 6 of So You Like Horror. I'm going to go into detail.
Okay. All right.
Not really. Like, we're going to talk about it, but you know what I mean. Detail means like, so I watched this.
No, just keep plugging it.
And then number 5 would be a series.
Okay.
Haunting of Hill House.
I love it. Yeah.
I tried to watch the follow-up, Haunting of Bly Manor. This shit is dry and dumb and boring. I can't do it, but I'm rewatching Haunting of Hill House because we're going to be doing that next week. And I watched this at night, put my daughter down to bed, Sarah went to work. I was scared to leave my room to go get a snack. It's best fucking dieting tip ever. Watch that fucking show, and then you won't go downstairs and make a bowl of cereal. Like, I was hearing weird noises. I was like, fuck that. I locked my door because my daughter be getting up in the middle of the night, turning lights on and shit. Like, you fucking psychopath. So yeah, I go Train to Busan, 13 Ghosts, Dawn of the Dead, 28 Days Later,
Amityville Horror,
Amityville, and then Haunting of Hill House.
Copy that. It made me. There's something that you said that made me. When you were talking about the like this one was worse. Like the second one, the fifth one that you said.
Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah, you watched the second one. It was trash.
We didn't even finish. I think it was 9 episodes.
The way you described it reminded me of Family Guy when he was like, "You ever been to a musical? It's like a movie, but longer and more expensive and dumber and worse." I think, or maybe that was American Dad. I can't remember. It was good. All right, and then our last one is from Sean W. He says, spoilers for Boba Fett episode 6. Now he said 99, 98, 97. Hi, NR crew. After the Mandalorian season 2 finale, I wrote to you rhetorically and asked, Ahsoka definitely has to meet Anakin's kids at some point, right? I'll be honest, I was expecting to be in a comic or novel or something, maybe in a show years down the line when Disney finally bit the bullet and recast the original trilogy characters. I was not expecting it to happen with Gollum Luke a year later. It was a whatever scene, cute but inconsequential. Dude, talk about it. My wife and I had more fun acting out their parts after Ahsoka left. Okay, Luke, I'm going to peace out. Oh, you're leaving? I thought maybe you could tell me about my mom. Nope. Gotta go. Okay. Real quick, could you maybe tell me her name? Also, I want to beat my head against the wall over Luke's teachings that Jedi don't have attachments. Shit, when like a week earlier, he redeemed his own fucking father with the power of love. But that's a rant for another day. Dude, talk about it. You know, like that's the fucking problem with this thing is that like the problem with episode 9, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Bad Batch to a lesser extent, but Bad Batch as well, is all of them are trying to be what they think Star Wars fans want. And they're nailing it for the fucking 40-year-old that is a bozo. And I'm sorry if you love it, you're a little bit of a bozo, but I'm sorry. I don't mean you're a whole bozo. You could be part bozo, half bozo.
Be a zo.
You could just be the zo. Or you're maybe some girl's beau. But it's just like, it's just thoughtless, soulless, heartless trash. And I hate to see it. I hate to see it. And he's 100% right. All the interesting things that they can explore, it's like they're just choosing not to, and the natural thing of like wanting to hear Luke hear his mother's name spoken. Nope.
Wow.
Nope. Why bother? Did you know Yoda can dance? Cue the music.
Got some merch to sell, man.
It's just awful.
Like you said, it's soulless.
Yeah.
It's like just trying to sell.
I do have to close on somewhat of a negative note. I just want to say rest in peace to nightwingenum. This gentleman was in the ROC collector group, like the group chat, like the when they go on the video, he was always in the when they go live, he was like in the chat all the time.
Gotcha.
He was like a staple of the chat. I think they called him chatwingenum. I think is what they called him. It was like but he passed away, unfortunately, and thoughts and prayers to him and his family and loved ones and in the chat. And then lastly, a community member has reached out to me. It doesn't matter the name, just what matters is the cause. With his niece, I believe, is 2 years old and suffering from brain cancer, and they are trying to raise some money. The link to the GoFundMe is the very first link in the description. So check your couch cushion, see if you got anything. And if you do, send it to a kid that's faced more challenges than you probably have in your whole fucking life. And with that being said, I'm glad that you guys, I really enjoyed the Joe Rogan conversation. It wouldn't have been the same with Joe and Chris.
Obviously.
But I do appreciate it because it's good.
It's good to have.
Yeah. And thank you guys for both coming out. It's been too long, especially for you.
Yeah, I got to get over more.
Yeah, you got to get back to the real.
I'm working on it.
Day there.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. And with that, shout out to Chris and Joe, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. And shout out to the rest of the Cool Table. If you listen to this podcast and have a podcast or don't have a podcast, as far as I'm concerned, you're part of the Cool Table. And shout out to everybody else. Shout out to Dante for continuing to hold down our Facebook. We appreciate you. Phil on our notes and on Twitter. Ricky Tiki Timber making the little promotional videos that we were using every week that are good fun. And Raul on Instagram. And I think that's it. If anybody else helps behind the scenes, my heart is with you. And with that,
wax buttholes.
Hey, shave your balls.
That sounded more like a request. Tight dick player.